Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to a Code Talk Friday stream. It's good to see all your smiling faces. Today, we're just going to talk. We're going to answer questions. You can ask questions by using the !ask chat command. Those questions will pop up here, and you can also upvote other people's questions. The other thing I'm going to try to do is read most chat messages. Usually, there's way too many messages, and it's really hard to keep up, but I just feel like talking today. So if you say something in chat, there's like an 80% chance I'll likely read it and respond to it. What's up, Katoli? I feel like it's been a while. Thanks for being here. Can we get a pet the mods? Pet the mods. Katoli's a mod. Chat. I sound tired. I am tired. But I feel all right. I don't know. Oh, that's unfortunate. The she-boss. It says the wrong time. Oh yeah, another cool development is if you are a follower, you can use this emote, the Coding Garden seedling emote. Twitch finally enabled it on my channel. So let's all use the Coding Garden or the Coding Seedling emote. Now. Nice. Nice. Great work. Awesome. Yeah, it seems like, as some people were saying in the chat, it seems like subs are messed up. Like people can't resub and people can't gift subs. Has anyone experienced that on other Twitch channels? I don't know. But also, we could get immediately into coding. If anybody has a question that would require a code example, actually, let me fix this. Is that never mind? I thought this was in the wrong spot. It's not working on other streams too. That's unfortunate. But if there's any code specific questions, I could just write some code immediately, and then we'll say hello to everybody. How can I sync and remove all my local branches after merging and deleting remote branches? I would just have to Google this to answer it, honestly, but we could figure it out together. I see what you mean, though. Like, if the branches are removed on the remote, how do you remove them locally, too? There's probably a way. Cool. Yeah, so some people have resubbed, and so macaroni pizza pie, thank you for the sub, and Sirius Hill, thank you for the prime sub. Yeah. Can we build a profitable product with a full-time job? This is being Pranjal. Probably, but it would take a lot of work. Starting a company is no small task. Yeah. Oh, good luck, the she-boss. Yeah, that's awesome. You'll do fine. But that's awesome. Making a career change, a career move. Cool. All right, let's just go ahead and say hi to everybody. If you'd like to say hi to me, you can say any one of these things. Hi, hello, hey, morning, afternoon, evening, howdy, good day, coding, hi-o, vohi, or abogahe. Say any one of these, and I will acknowledge you. And then we'll get into answering questions and chatting and writing some code. So Sir Davos was the first person to say hello 17 minutes ago. Hello, Sir Davos. What's up, Irasam and Aman? Hello, Amr. I feel like it's been a while, Amr. Thanks for being here. What's up, Ajankt? It says, hey, CJ, trying to help my friend get into coding and told him about your channel. Any tips for a newcomer who's looking for a career change? I think you put this over here. Yeah. I'll answer. That'll be the first one I answer. We'll come back to that. What's up, Allers? And Mohammedi and Pablo and Alman and Unicorn and Limotes and Danielle and Squeedoz and Mihai Andre and Noel and Mooley and the She-Boss and Devim and iFall and Mama Lab. Hello. What's up, Ryan? And Acid Spark and Kalasiki and Chief Mustardo and Ibaldi and Yukarai and Veritatas and Katoli and Pranjal and Electrothermal. Hello, Yuritbox. What do I think about using a Mac M1 Pro 14-inch for web development? Seems fine. I haven't really looked into the new Macs, but a MacBook is always good for web development. I use a MacBook, so that's my answer. If you're willing to pay for it, It's going to work out great. What's up, Stony? And okay, not now. Hello, Mads and Majestic Eye and Simon and Sirius Hill and X Palma and Sequel Gorster and Nookie Poo and Anroy and Janek and It's Mike and Israzel Wazel. Hello. My Friday is all right. I'm doing good. Doing good. What's up, Friniz and Pranyan and Jakartik and Andreas and Decarts and Eddie and SMC. Welcome, SMC, from the Boga Raid, which happened months ago, but thanks for coming back. I appreciate you. What's up, B&B and El Grand Tonto and Cali? What's up, Bruno and Yana B and Magic? Welcome in, everyone. I had a thought. What was my thought? I don't know. I don't know what my thought was, but yeah. And the G-Boss recommends that MacBook. Yeah, so she's not a Mac person, but they recommend it, so that's good. Yeah, Windows and Windows subsystem for Linux seems fine. I think if you want to build iOS apps at all, a MacBook makes sense because you can build iOS and Android. But if you don't need to do that, you could probably spend less money and get a nicer machine. Or a machine with at least the same specs for less money. And Yellow, how's it going? Says, I'm getting back into programming with a focus on data analysis. I found out I couldn't get through a computer science bachelor degree, but I can sort of figure it out myself. Yeah, you definitely can. There's tons of free online resources for doing data analytics kind of stuff. I mean, you could even learn the computer science stuff without getting a degree. Thank you, SMC. I appreciate you being here. Hey says, what's my thoughts on learning Angular? What does Angular 2 Plus mean? And is Angular phasing it out? I appreciate the question, Hey. And this is a good one. I mean, I've talked about this in the past, but let's talk about it today. But here's what I need you to do. In the chat, type !ask followed by that. It'll show up here. And then we won't forget about it. We'll come back to it in a bit. Yeah, something's going on Twitch. I have no idea. They're having sub issues and yeah. Yeah. It is funny, Eddie. No one chimed in. It was like, just use Linux. What do I think about .NET 6, the new version of C#? So I haven't looked into it extensively, but it looks really cool. So some of the things I've seen are you can get started with a C# project without all the boilerplate. So typically with C# you need a class with like a main method and all of that. But with .NET 6, you can just open up a file and start writing some code, which makes it really accessible. It's like a lot closer to what we can do with like node.js and JavaScript. So that's cool. I know there's also a new thing for creating very simple web APIs, which also looks cool. It looks like they're adding a bunch of stuff that would make it really easy for a node.js developer to get into C#. So I like it. Seems cool. Let's take a quick stretch. Yeah, people have mentioned it, Pablo. Like they can't resub, they can't gift subs. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I need to do this, Pranjal. There's a backlog of probably like 30 live streams that still need to be uploaded to YouTube. And I'm just busy. My hope is that now around the holidays, I'll be able to take a break from work and then just work on Coding Garden channel stuff, but who knows? What are my thoughts on API documentation? I haven't done any direct videos on it, or maybe I have, but Swagger API docs are really cool. I've used those a lot. Yeah. Do I work on my side projects during office hours? Sometimes, but that's only if I'm done with work. So the question is, how do you keep office and personal coding stuff separate when you're working from home? Is just make sure that you get all of your actual work stuff done first, because that's what they're paying you for. But yeah, my job is really flexible. Like, so if I don't have anything else to do, I'll work on side stuff. Yeah. I usually have stuff to do, though. Well, there we go. Andrea says, just use Linux. Nice. Cool. Got some more resubs. Stony Eagle says it's working. Nice, Stony Eagle. Okay, let's go ahead and start answering some questions. This first one is a good starter, which comes from Junked. Junked? Who says, hey CJ, trying to help my friend get into coding and told him about your channel. Any tips for a newcomer who is looking for a career change? Yes, and you can create a Twitch clip right now. pronounced Jinked. Cool. What's up, Jinked? My first point of advice is for your friend to see if they actually like coding, because spending the money on a coding boot camp or quitting work just to like learn full time is a really big investment. And if they get into it and they invest all this time and money into it and then realize they don't want to do it, that can be pretty disappointing. So I would say try to just do some self-learning. There's a ton of really cool and nice and awesome free ways to learn. One of them is Free Code Camp. They have a completely online curriculum. I would recommend they go here and just start and see if they like it. See if they like, because you're going to learn within a day, you're going to learn the basics of HTML and CSS and maybe like some basic JavaScript. And if it's making sense and it seems cool, then it's probably for you. Another one is the Odin project. They have a full free online curriculum. I'll say that the Free Code Camp holds your hand. So it's there's an in-browser editor and they have tests so you can like write code and then they tell you if you got it right. So it like very much holds your hand if you're a complete beginner. Whereas the Odin project just kind of lays it all out there for you. And they have a couple of different paths. But if you go in here, it's not like interactive tutorials in the browser. It's basically just a bunch of articles that point you off to other resources, which in my opinion is much closer to what you'll actually be doing in the real world as a developer. But it does take more work and more commitment to do it that way. But yeah, that's my recommendation, is just try it. There's tons of free stuff you can access and try to do online. So give it a go for like a week or so, see if you really like it. And then if you do really like it, you can start looking at your options. Yeah, one option is coding boot camps. There's been a ton of articles written about them and you can search to find reviews and stuff like that. They cost money. They have various ways of paying for it, but they're usually an accelerated program. So anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to a year-long program, and then you have the skills to get hired. And another option is to look at universities near you, because a lot of universities have been offering coding bootcamp style thing. So it's not an actual like bachelor's degree, but it is like a more accelerated thing. And then you could also just go get a computer science degree. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Let your friend know. Cool. I missed some chats. Let's see. How close to job ready would Free Code Camp get you if you completed it all? Pretty darn close. I think one of the cool things about Free Code Camp is some of the projects you build can potentially be for nonprofit organizations. So they partner with nonprofits that need websites or need some code written, and some of your projects could be for that. So at that point, you technically have job experience because you've built something for a client. So yeah, I would say like Free Code Camp. So if you get into self-study, Free Code Camp alone isn't going to get you there, but it's a really good starter. And then you do have to do a lot of work on your own to seek out other resources and learn in other ways as well. But it is a good launching point. Yeah, and like Exorcism, for example, is a good place to practice specifically like algorithmic problems. So if you check it out, let's see if we can find one. We're going to go into the JavaScript course. Is this it? I feel like there's exorcism.io. It's like a bunch of, I don't know if they changed it or if that's the same site. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. No, they changed it. It was .io. Now it's .org. But they used to have like, you could download an entire test suite and then you like try solving problems and you could run it against the test suite. But yeah, like this is one aspect of learning to code, is being good at solving algorithmic problems. Specifically, if you're going to be a web developer, there are other aspects that you have to learn as well. Yeah. If I already know some JavaScript, is the Odin project better then? Potentially. I would say give it a look. I mean, disclosure, I haven't done either of them because I went to school many, many years ago, got a computer science degree. I just know that these sites have worked for a lot of people and I've seen people use them. So I would say, yeah, your mileage may vary. You'll have to see. Milo says, I recently officially switched my career into IT and now got a full-time job as a front-end dev. Good Udemy courses helped me. free code camp and YouTube channels, official docs, and coding garden. Nice. Yeah, so like I was saying, you really gotta, so free code camp might be a good entry point, or even the Odin project, but there's a ton of other resources out there, and you should explore those too. There's a lot of free ways to learn online. What's up, Farshid? I don't have any experience with Code Academy, no. But it is another one. I think the thing about Code Academy is it eventually costs money. I think they do have some free courses. You can do some stuff for free, but then eventually you got to pay for it, which is fine because it's quality. But I will say there are free ways to learn too, so you don't necessarily have to spend money. Code Small Program says a student of mine rocked it with Odin Project. That's awesome. Nice. And welcome, Priscilla's here. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to mention. There's so many familiar faces in the chat. There's a lot of people in chat that I haven't seen in months. And thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Yeah. Oh, they changed exorcism. Okay. Yeah, it is an interesting name. Yeah, like Majestic Eye, for example. I haven't seen you in a long time, but you're here, and I appreciate it. Veritatas says, I started my first real dev job this year, and I basically learn as I go. You need to be able to figure stuff out. Yeah, like that's the main thing that you might also mention to someone that's moving in, that wants to move into a career here, is this isn't the kind of career where you go to school, you learn a thing, and how to do that thing in a specific way, and then you just get a job and you just keep doing that exact thing in that specific way. Honestly, how many careers are actually like that? But programming and software engineering and coding are very much not that. So every company does it slightly different. There are many, many different programming languages you could use. As you work, like you could work for 20 years in the industry and still have to learn new things because things constantly evolve. So that's really what you're getting yourself into, is you need to learn how to learn so that you can learn on the job and get stuff done. Like JavaScript is just a tool. It's not the be all end all thing for being a programmer, or any other programming language for that matter. Yeah. Solo learn. I haven't heard of that one. Yeah, and so that's the other thing, is people like to learn in different ways. I would say you should expose yourself to multiple ways, because you really get your brain moving, and you can you're exposed to different modalities. So like video versus articles versus like just audio. Or an in-person lesson, or like a lecture. All of those are different ways. Some people prefer one over the other. I think you should try all of them, but specifically, like the Odin project, there are no videos. You literally, I mean, in some places they link to videos, but for the most part, it's just telling you, hey, go watch this video and then come try to answer these questions. So it also kind of like holds you accountable, because you could sit on YouTube watching tutorials all day, but most tutorials on YouTube aren't going to test you on whether or not you actually learned the thing. You might feel accomplished for having watched the video, but there's no built-in way for you to test to see, oh, did I actually learn that? And the Odin project has checks for understanding. So it's like, go watch this video and then make sure you can answer these 5 questions after watching the video. So yeah. What's up, Capio? And Art Pajan and Artie? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you're typing it out. Yeah, it's more close to the real world. Milo says, Code Academy helped me start, but is a bit more expensive compared to on-demand courses. Yeah. Imposter syndrome is real. I still feel it to this day. I've been in the industry a long time. Yeah. Stony Eagle says, the stuff you can learn from YouTube alone is very impressive. I'm working on a self-hosted Netflix server that archives DVD and Blu-ray with no effort. All my knowledge comes from YouTube. Yes, it's 100% legal. It's actually really interesting how making a digital copy for yourself is legal, but the moment you try to share that digital copy with someone else, that is illegal in most places. But that's really cool. Yeah, and Stony Eagle learned from YouTube. Artie says, I'm currently looking forward to sending out my CV and applying to many companies for the front end. Let's see, and cross our fingers. Yeah, best of luck to you. JetBrains Academy has a free course. Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess I'll mention really quick. We started getting together a list of coding resources. I mean, I haven't touched it since we started it. somehow it has 50 stars and 7 forks. But this page here is the result of an entire stream where I was asking people for suggestions and then also just putting in things that I know of in terms of like places and types of ways to learn to code online. The tricky part about this is if you give this page to a beginner, it's extremely overwhelming because there's just so many options. So eventually what I want to do is I'll still have this list available, but I'll create like a coding garden recommended. Like if you want to do this yourself, these are the things that you should really take a look at, because it's a lot to pick and choose from. Yeah, learn X and Y minutes. I think we have that on here. Or we should if we don't. Yeah, it's right there. It's crazy how many new developers hate figuring things out. They want to ask the supervisor for every little thing. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, Yana, because if they do that, they themselves are never going to be self-sufficient. They're never going to grow. They're never going to get to a point where they are like a mid-level or senior level developer. That's how I excelled. Is I just always tried to figure things out myself. I almost never asked for help or guidance. I mean, to my own detriment, because I spent a lot of time spinning my wheels, but it also helped me grow as a developer and as a person, because at this point, I kind of just feel like I could figure anything out. Like, given enough time, I could figure anything out if I really needed to. But yeah, as a new developer, you want to try to be as self-sufficient as possible, because that's how you get better and that's how you move up in your career. I don't know if you asked this question, Kali, but you didn't do an exclamation mark. Let's see if it made it over here. No, redo that with an exclamation mark. We'll get it on the list here. Yeah, I do. I mean, I do as well. Making things. Yeah, that's how I learned stuff. What's up, Kit Black? Evil Junior? What? If you're new to programming, you are welcome here. We welcome beginners and veterans alike. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Pranjal. Yeah, last stream was a weird one. We didn't do any coding, but we played this game called Kukuro, which is games with Twitch chat. It was pretty fun. Basically, everyone in chat had the ability to join in on the game, and there are different chat commands you could do to do different things in the game. It's pretty fun. We'll try to do that more often, and we'll eventually try to build our own game that's similar. Yeah. And Bimsicle is saying, I learned from a combination of university, YouTube articles, and attempting those lists of ideas for projects. Yeah, for sure. How's the Raspberry project going? Have all the the inventory project. Is that what you mean? Or did I talk about like scanning the food in my fridge? Both of those things are on hold. If I did talk about anything like that. I haven't worked or touched on those things in a long time. Yeah, from the She-Boss. It says, I recommend for all those who are wanting to get in the industry but are hesitant because you think you're not ready or don't know enough, just do it. Some companies won't want people that have the potential to be molded. They don't expect you to know everything. While I did have a degree, I had nothing in my portfolio and got a job 3 months out of university. Yeah, I mean, I was in a similar boat. Like when I got my first full-time job out of college, I had only had 2 internships, but specifically if you're going to get hired by a large corporation, one that has the resources to train their employees, they're expecting that you're not going to be actually productive. Like this doesn't apply to every company, but for larger companies, they typically expect you won't actually be productive as a new hire until you've been there for 3, 4, 6 months. They expect that you have to learn and you have to like get onboarded and all of that. And a lot of times companies will actually pay for you to learn after you get hired. So, I mean, but it varies. Companies are different, but that is a scenario you could get yourself in, is you could get hired somewhere, not know the programming languages or the stack that they're using, but they hired you because they like you as a person and they see your drive and they know, or they anticipate that you can get up to speed quickly and learn the stuff you need to learn to do the job. Like good companies hire good people, not like just, I mean, I don't want to say code monkey or people that can just code, because having a programming job involves a lot more than just programming. So yeah. And Lashiba says, well, that won't be everyone's story. Don't be scared to put yourself out there. I completely agree. I'm not, I see multiple messages from you. I don't know what you're saying, Kit Blackcar. You're new to programming field accessed, and then order, say command. Are you a bot? Oh, you're a Linux god. Okay. Wait, no. Yeah, okay, cool. Odom says, is a social media with messaging and notifications, e-commerce, and a to-do application good in a portfolio to get a job? I only did a 4-month internship, though. I think so. Like, most of the time, and again, this varies by company and where you're going to get hired, but most of the time, it doesn't really matter what exactly your portfolio projects are. What matters is the code that went into building them, and the experience you got from building those apps. So, like, companies aren't going to be specifically looking for certain personal portfolio projects to hire someone. They see that you did those things, and if the code's on GitHub, they can look at your code and see how well you code. And you yourself probably learned a lot doing those things. So I would say, first of all, yes, that seems fine, but also try not to think about it in that way. Think about it more as, do I have enough projects in my portfolio that showcase what I'm capable of and what I've learned as I'm becoming a developer, if that makes sense. We could learn about Git syncing remote branches. Yeah, I will look at that, your question next for sure. When you're new to programming, it's really overwhelming, but having a goal in mind that you really want to accomplish keeps you motivated, and finding like-minded people are great to help you move forward. Yeah, I completely agree. You got to be goal-oriented for sure. Mila says, the interview process took very long. Be ready for it. Yeah, see, like, that's the other thing about switching careers or getting into programming is, like, not only did you just spend months, if not years of your life learning all this stuff, now you have to actually sell yourself, and, like, not in the realist sense of selling yourself, but you have to be able to market yourself in an interview and actually get hired somewhere, and you have to put yourself out there in terms of applying to companies and stuff like that. It's a process for sure. And it can take a while. Yeah. And what's up, Olarson? And Fire says, when deadlines exist, you need to be aware of when you have spent enough time trying to figure out a problem, be willing. Yeah, absolutely. So this is to the point earlier that I mentioned where most of my career, I kind of just figured it out. But absolutely, you have to be deadline aware. So sure, I'm trying to just figure it out. But if I get to a point where the project needs to be done or the sprint's about to be over and I haven't figured it out yet, you should reach out. And you probably should reach out before the deadline hits or before the sprint is over, because you need to actually make that deadline. Yeah. My boss is advising me to go full stack and not only front end or back end. What do you think? Sometimes that is what managers or bosses want so that they can pay you less money, or so they don't have to hire as many employees, which is fine. Like, if you like doing both front end and back end, great, go for it. I mean, I do front end and back end, and I enjoy it. I like touching both sides. I like being aware of the full project and not just one specific piece. But if you're not comfortable doing that, then I would say don't do it. And also, think about the company that you work at or your boss, and does he just not want to hire somebody new? Which I can understand, because hiring a new person is a big investment. But yeah, and the Teme, thanks for that sub. What else we got? Okay, not now with the 17 months, thank you. And Simon Dupp with the sub, and the Teme with the 13 months, much appreciated. Yep, I have many repos on GitHub collecting dust. Yeah. Where can you get my shirt? You can't. It was a one-time only thing. It's exclusive. I think I only sold about 50 of them on Teespring. So anybody out there, if you have a code shirt, you could sell it on eBay to Yaz. Yeah. Yeah. Do they look at the logic and design of the projects in the portfolio? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends on who's looking at it. I mean, sometimes they won't even look at it at all. It's really just about interviewing you. But if a hiring manager is technical, or the technical person that's going to really be working with you on a daily basis wants to know more about you before they interview you, they absolutely will dive into your portfolio and like look at the code and look at the design and all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Nine Lives. Not sure if this question applies. How long do you feel someone should be working on a company as a dev to get a raise, or jumping from junior to mid? I don't think it has anything to do with any amount of time. I think it has more to do with contribution and like how much you're contributing. Like, are you kind of like going above and beyond? Like, are you doing everything you can? Like, specifically going from junior to mid, are you self-sufficient? Like, do you need help all of the time or guidance all of the time? Or are you able to produce without that? So yeah, it's not necessarily time because everyone's different. But if I were promoting someone, I would look at like, yeah, how much are they contributing? Are they more self-sufficient than they used to be? Do they need less help? That kind of thing. So think about that. Would I rather join a big tech company like Facebook, Amazon, or a smaller company if I could choose? Yeah, a smaller company. And I've already chosen because I'm working at a smaller company right now. The pay is less compared to like those Silicon Valley companies. But the freedom is a whole lot more in terms of like, you don't have to, at a smaller company, you don't have to deal with company politics, which can get really draining. There's less hoops you have to jump through in order to get things done because you have a more direct line of communication with the person that actually makes the decisions. Typically at a smaller company, from my experience, the employees are more human. They're more real because I've worked at a large company before, and you have people that are basically just not themselves when they're at the job because it's all about work. Like, it's all about like getting ahead or putting on your business face so that you can look good in front of your managers and stuff like that. And I don't really like that. It's not always like that, but I have seen a lot of that. And at smaller companies, there's less room to do that because you have less people and you need to just get stuff done. So there's less fake people. I don't know. That's all my experience, but I do prefer smaller companies. That said, I got a lot of really good experience at a larger company. I wouldn't be where I was today had I not worked at one, but having worked at one, I know that I don't want to work at one again. Yeah. Nine Lives asks, besides HTML and CSS, what other language would you recommend to beginners, and what would they use to learn it? We talked about this a little bit ago, but I recommend JavaScript. If you go to any other coding streamer on Twitch right now, they'll probably recommend something else. Programmers are very opinionated, but JavaScript is extremely accessible. Like, you could start coding right now in Nine Lives. Here's what you do. Open up a new tab in your browser, right-click the page, click on Inspect, click on Console, and then type console.log hello world. Look at that. You are a JavaScript programmer now. Try to do that with, I was going to say Python. I mean, there are web interpreters for Pythons. Try doing that with C or C++. Like, you can't. There's a lot of setup involved. And you can do a lot of things with JavaScript. You can build mobile apps. You can build web apps. You can build desktop apps. You can even do like some embedded coding, like on devices that support it, like little microcomputers and stuff like that. So I recommend JavaScript. Yeah. And what's up, Lou? Welcome in. Yeah, Krillian says going full stack will equip you better to talk to other people. Just because you know full stack doesn't mean you have to work full stack. Noel Pointer says, I know this is kind of irrelevant. What do you do? Irrelevant to what you do, but do you know any good way to get into game development? Oh, okay. I read that weird. Do I know any good way to get into game development? I don't develop games, which is why it isn't relevant. But I would recommend looking at Unity. I've built some pretty basic Unity games. Unity uses C#. They used to have Unity script, which is like JavaScript based, but I think most things are just C# these days. You can build a lot of stuff with Unity. The other thing is Unreal Engine, which I've never looked into. And those are, but I think both of those platforms, you can build a game and then publish it to multiple platforms like desktop and mobile. You might have to write it a certain way. You could also get into JavaScript, like web game development. So there's things like Phaser.io. I've built like a super basic game with it, but they have a lot of built-in stuff for like sprites and tile maps and stuff like that. And there's some others. People in the chat just recommend JavaScript game engines if you know of any. And the log says, I've been an intern at a company I work for 2.5 months, and I'm now a study assistant for the past 3 months. But I always find myself making the same mistake, and I don't know how to overcome these mistakes. Silly mistakes like leaving in comments or forgetting an if. Make yourself a checklist. Every time before you make a commit, did I remove all the comments? Did I remove all the console logs? Basically, if you keep forgetting and it keeps happening, you gotta change your process. So I think a checklist might help. These are all the things I need to check before I actually submit my code to be reviewed, that kind of thing. You might also ask your superior, so like whoever is reviewing your code, ask them if they have a checklist that they go through. And then you could use that before you hand it to them. So, yeah. Merch scalpers. I don't think so we're talking about the t-shirt here. I don't think anybody thought about it that way whenever I released the t-shirt. But technically you could do that. What's the good time to move to Next.js after learning React? I think after you've built like a basic to-do app, you could start using Next.js instead. Because everything you know about React still applies. You just now have to learn all the framework concepts like routing, server-side rendering and hydration. There's a couple other things, but yeah, you can get into it. And Unloved Slug, thank you for the Prime. And Milos with the 15 months. Here's an idea. Let us do a live stream where we can discuss career switching or starting a new dev job, since I recently went through that in person. It would be good to have a dedicated one. I like this idea. Actually, the general idea of having specific topics that we talk about for an entire stream, that would be cool. And we could announce it like a week or two in advance, so everyone that's interested in that could show up to talk about it. I like the way you think. Do this, Milos, in the chat. Do ! idea with that, and then it'll show up here, so we don't forget about it. Cool. What's a good project for a GitHub portfolio for a developer with 2 to 3 years of experience? Trying to boost my resume with this and learn new stuff. I don't really know. I don't have a good answer for you. I know there are lists of like app ideas that you could go through and like try and pick one. But yeah, I don't have a good answer. I don't know. In my Microsoft interview, they looked into my GitHub profile. In one of the rounds, they were going through it and asked about my pinned repos. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing about having a portfolio and having a GitHub is if you are going to be interviewing, know your projects and know how to talk about them. So yeah. Seriously, Kit Black, are you a bot? Is this person a bot? They just showed up today, and they just have the most random messages. JavaScript. I want to grow up to be a super cool programmer. Cool. Thanks for being here if you're not a bot, but also you seem like a bot. Yeah. Do companies look for an age limit or personal knowledge is enough? It depends. In the US, it's actually illegal for a company to discriminate a new hire based on their age. There are laws around how young you can be to be hired, but usually in the field of programming and software development, just knowing how to do it is enough. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. Yeah. Ken says, I'm about 2 weeks from finishing my boot camp, and I feel like I'm in a decent position, but I'm one of the only, if not the only, people without a college degree in the class. Oh, weird. You're at a boot camp in most... Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. So when I used to teach at a coding boot camp, and when I taught there, most of the students already had a degree, but not in computer science, not in the field of programming and technology. They had like law degrees or finance degrees. What else is there? Or medical degrees or different stuff like that. And they were just switching careers. So yeah, it is tricky because some of the bigger companies that you might apply to actually require a college degree regardless of the field that it was in. So yeah, that is going to be tricky. So I'm worried about the interview process and even being looked at because of that. What are your feelings on that? My feelings are you should really, really focus on your portfolio because that's essentially all you have to show them. Like the thing about, so from a hiring perspective, so like if I'm a person hiring someone, seeing a college degree on their resume shows that at least they have that much amount of effort and gumption in that, like they were at least able to get a degree regardless if it was in computer science or not. They went through that process and they were able to do that. So if you don't have that on your resume, you need to be able to show that you are committed and that you can do some long commitment like that. I guess. Am I making sense? But my first point is, like, first of all, don't sweat it. Like, there are still companies that will hire you without a college degree, but make sure you have a really good portfolio and like portfolio of projects that you can showcase, because that's really all they're going to have to go off of. But also don't be afraid to put past work experience on your resume either. Like, even if you were a stalker in the back room at some store, if you have room, put it on your resume, because it at least shows that you can hold a job. So yeah. Best of luck to you, Ken, because I know it's tricky. Mitzik says, I've started an AWS certification. What do you think of those certs? I don't have one, but it seems like a lot of companies are more likely to interview you if you have one. It's like if you're going to be doing that kind of work. So I think it is something that will make you more marketable if you're looking for a job. I don't have one, and I don't know from experience, but I've seen it. So yeah. Ryan says, JavaScript, boo everything. Everything else is fine. Yeah. JavaScript has been hard for me. Just keep going. You'll figure it out. What's up, Cypher? What's my name? My name is CJ. CJ. That's my name. Stoney says, my joy comes from having an idea that Google doesn't help you with and managing to realize it. What makes you tick, CJ? I enjoy creating something, not necessarily out of nothing, but creating something that was not there before I created it. In that, like, I have the ability to solve problems and build things with code, with my knowledge. So, yeah, I was just thinking, like, some of the apps that I've built specifically, like, they're solving. Lately, we've been building a lot of silly apps, but like we built stuff on stream that solves a specific problem. And before that stream started, that thing never existed. So for me to be able to produce something like that, that's what makes me tick. I'm a problem solver. I like solving problems. Yeah. Go.engine. Oh, it's for making games. Okay. Yeah, company's not so important. It's more important to work with people where you could learn something new. I also, and to add to that, work somewhere where you like the people that you're working with, because you spend a lot of your time there. But DS Legends, thank you for the 14 months, and Shoresy Web with the 16 months. Much appreciated. Yeah, I watched Squid Game. It was very interesting. And Rfire says, do I know any APIs or testing frameworks that allow you to simulate mouse or touchscreen input? I don't, but I know they exist because I've used them in the JavaScript world. And specifically, like, if you're coding for Windows, I think there are just like native Windows APIs that would let you do it. All I'll say is it's probably possible. So if you keep searching the web, you'll be able to find it. Yeah, I use Husky at work. It's really cool. Before it allows you to commit, it will run your linter, it'll run your tests, and then stop you from committing if either of those fail. And you can run other tasks too. Would I recommend Unity or JS for spinning up a board game quickly? Given, JavaScript and C# equally good or bad. I mean, the other thing to think about is like the multiplayer server aspect of it, because that's a whole nother thing. Because for one, you could build the game, it works local single player, fine. But if you want to network it and have multiple players and like lobbies and matchmaking, that's a whole other thing you have to think about. And I think like the Unity game engine has some pre-built modules for that. Whereas if you're going to use JavaScript, you might have to code it from scratch with like WebSockets, or try to find some game engine you can host on a server. So I'd probably go with Unity because I feel like I've seen some pre-built modules for that. We're just talking today, Gene, answering questions. I'm 8 minutes behind on chat. I'm going to try to catch up, and then I'll start going through the questions over here. But at this rate, I'll probably never catch up. What's the slow mode on? Slow mode is off. Here we go. We're now in a 30-second slow mode. When you send a message, be really, really sure before you hit enter. Be thoughtful about what you're going to say. Yeah. Joaquim says, the loggle. There's a very simple hack. If you're on GitHub, you can actually see the file changes before creating a PR. Oh, sure. Like the diff, you mean? So like you make a commit and then you see the changes? Is that what you mean? That's true, Fireball. So this was to the person earlier that was asking about, like, they keep getting code pushed back to them by their superior because they're making mistakes. But yeah, you could have a linter that checks for comments. You could have a linter that, like, there are certain classes of ways of writing code that a linter couldn't necessarily check for that maybe your supervisor doesn't like that you're doing. So that might be harder, but other things can be automated. Yeah. Here's the thing, Ryan. Maybe it was because I was tired, but the other night I tried spinning up a Nuxt app, and for the life of me, I couldn't get this one thing working. Now, it didn't actually have anything to do with Nuxt. I was just trying to make an API call in the async method, but for some reason, the error messages that Nuxt spits out are worded in a different way than I'm used to seeing them. They're like worded differently than the node.js JavaScript engine would word them for some reason. And that really, really tripped me up. I had not experienced that before. Like, eventually I started to understand the error messages. They just like flip some words around. But also, like, there weren't clear line numbers of where the errors were happening. I don't know. I had some issues with Nuxt, and I thought it was going to be easy. But nice, Crafty. Welcome in. We might write some code depending on what questions got asked. Yeah. Next sounds like extra steps. Next feels like fewer. Sure. My voice doesn't fit my body. All right. I'll accept that. And what's up, Orinkas? First of all, I'm really love your channel. I'd like to know if you know a good place to learn about web development security, like cross-site scripting and staff. I don't know what you mean by staff, but specifically for web development, I don't know. There is the OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project, which is like just general cybersecurity stuff. They probably have some learning resources on here. I don't know of any good ones that I could recommend. So, did I hear about the Team C Game Jam? I didn't. Simone says, if you weren't a developer, what else would you do? Probably an engineer of some kind, because I am a problem solver. I like things that are logical, so probably an engineer. And if not an engineer, I would be a sandwich artist. Probably when I retire, I want to open up a sandwich shop. Like, I really like making sandwiches. Yeah. So a lot of times you go to a sandwich shop and the person making your sandwich isn't happy. Like, they're not happy to be putting all of the ingredients on the bread. And I would be happy to do it. Like, and I would just put so much effort and love into really, really making those sandwiches. So that's what I would be doing. That person probably is a bot. I don't know. We don't know. Have you posted an API to rapidapi.com? Oh, I haven't, but I've read some API docs on Rapid API. So, like, I believe, like, Rapid API. Yeah, they're basically like an API host, and they host the docs too. I've never hosted anything myself, but I've used ones that are hosted there. What's up, Mushimitsu? I'm doing good. I'm glad you could be here. What's up, Java Love? I haven't used Pygame, no. I taught at a coding bootcamp called Galvanize. But the company has changed a lot since I was there. They acquired the company Hack Reactor. And so now basically the web development or full stack course within Galvanize is actually just Hack Reactor embedded within it. So it's not like Galvanize used to have their own curriculum and everything else, but it pretty much just got replaced by Hack Reactor. I don't know why Hack Reactor still has a website, because they are owned by Galvanize. I don't know, but this is the one that I taught at. Why are there ads on Twitch now? I believe Twitch is also having issues where ads are being shown to subs. Though you're not a sub, so you should have been seeing ads anyways. Oh, you know what? I actually did set up in my dashboard. Like, scheduled ad breaks. That's probably what it is. I forgot to mention that. If you're seeing an ad and you missed something that I said, just ask me to repeat it, because I apologize for all of that. But I played around with their ad scheduler. I think I have it at 3 ads every hour or something like that. The one thing that it does is it prevents pre-roll ads, which is when new people come into the stream, they have to watch an ad before the stream actually starts. But by doing it like that, then it prevents that from happening. I don't know. I'll probably disable it. Oh, the drop. I just forgot to show the drop game. You're totally right. Watch this. There's going to be a bunch of drops. Maybe. Yeah, look at all those drops. There we go. Kintrack says, this week I received an offer to another country. I'm really confused if I should accept. Is it a completely remote position? Would you have to move there? Do you have to get a work visa? There's a lot of questions you gotta ask. That's what I would ask is, do you have to get a work visa? Do you have to move there? Do they speak your language? Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Look at all those drops. Nice Acid Spark with a nice big drop. Oh, who's that? Thonveer, great work. Jeepa startup. I just noticed the blue screen in the bottom right of the camera. Let's see if we can wait, is that? Yeah, that's over here. Could probably fix it. Look at that. I fixed it. Hello, Cobblestek. What have you missed? I've just been talking. Yeah. I want to self-learn and do something like WGU for an online degree. It's cheaper and quicker. I'm too old for regular college. What is WGU? Is that a specific university? Western Governors University. Never heard of it. But if you can learn from there, and seems fine. I don't think I do ability. I feel like there wasn't a specific stream dedicated to it, but I have talked about Webpack before. I don't know. Stalker? What? This was 12 minutes ago. I've lost the I've lost the reference. Do they have those data structures and algorithm questions for small companies? I think it really depends on the company's hiring process. But specifically, the company that I worked at now had more of a systems design style interview. Like the only coding I had to do was a take-home test they gave me before they brought me in to do an actual interview. And they basically just asked me to build an API that had certain features about it. And then deploy it, push the code up to GitHub. And yeah. So that's all I had to write. It wasn't even like a reverse this string kind of question. It was like more practical. And then the in-person interview was, so I work at a software consultancy, and we build software for clients, and clients of all types. Like the client could be a startup that needs someone to build their software, or a large enterprise that needs some new internal software. Clients of all kinds. And so the interview I was in was more similar to kind of thing that I have to deal with on a daily basis. So they're basically like, a client comes in and they want you to build Uber for photographers, I think was the prompt that they gave me, which is basically like an app where photographers can say, I'm available, and then people can go on there and say, I need a photographer for this specific event, which is probably a good app idea just in general. I don't know if it actually exists, but they're like, okay, if a client came in and asked you to build that, what would you do? Where would you start? And then how would you architect it? So that's the kind of questions that I had to answer at the current job I have. Do I have any experience with Java? I've written a little bit of Java, yeah. It looks like from another world. Take a look at C#. It's similar, but I do like C#. Yeah, Frankly Delicious says, I don't know what this is in reference to, but I like it. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. People that enjoy being the smartest person in the room, I mean, this might be you, and I'm not trying to offend you, but you probably have a really big ego. I prefer to be surrounded by smarter people, because I know there are a lot of things that I don't know, right? And if I'm surrounded by people that do know the things that I don't know, like we will jive better because we can solve more problems together. Someone has to be the smartest person in the room. That's true. And you can be the smartest person in the room and not have a big ego about it. I don't know. What inspires you to do personal projects? Really just solving specific problems that I have. Like, yeah, I can't think of any examples today, but if it's something in my life that could be easier or be helped by some software, that's what I like to build. I'm doing Java today and want to be a full stack. I've done some JavaScript. Should I go for React or Angular? I think because you're so used to Java, you should probably go with Angular, which actually reminds me of a question that somebody had. Yeah, I'll talk about this question next. I don't even know if you're still here. Hey, you asked this 49 minutes ago, but I'll talk about that next. But I would say go with Angular just because of the way it's structured, and it'll be more familiar to you. Whereas in like React is the wild west. It's completely open. Projects are written in various ways. There's no hard opinions. So Angular has a lot of opinions, and it's more similar to like enterprise Java. Rishi says, I'm interested. Oh, hey, sis, I'm still cool. We'll talk about it. I mean, I'm still technically 13 minutes behind on chat. We'll see what we can do. I'm gonna pause the chat right here. Right there, and then we'll look at the real-time chat while I'm answering this question, and then we'll come back to chat, at which point we'll probably be 20 to 25 minutes behind on chat. You know what we need to do? We really We should hide those two things. Regardless, okay. This question came from Hey, which is, what are my thoughts on learning Angular, and what does Angular 2+ mean, and is Angular phasing out? So this is just a quick history lesson. If you look up Angular, I don't know if the web framework, yeah. And actually, there's 2 Wikipedia articles on it, apparently. So Angular and then AngularJS. And apparently AngularJS is the original one. So AngularJS came out in 2010. So it came out 11 years ago. And it was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first front-end frameworks for building UIs with this model view model idea in VVM, which originated in the WPF.NET C# world. But really all this means is data binding, where basically you can write code that says, I have this little piece of UI and it's dependent on this data. And whenever that data changes, you need to automatically update this section of my UI. That's what MVVM is, which what I just described is how most front-end frameworks work these days. So they were the first to do it. And at the time, one of the most popular because they did it really well. And then in 2016, they decided they were going to do a complete rewrite. But for whatever reason, they kept the name, which is extremely confusing because these two are not compatible. Like if you've written an app with AngularJS, you would need to completely rewrite it if you wanted it to be in Angular. The only thing in common is the name. And so this came out in 2010. It was really popular for a really long time. And then when like React came out, this started to lose popularity. And they wanted to do stuff to make it, I don't even know if they wanted to make it more similar to React because they didn't. And then Angular came out in 2016. So to answer your question, what does Angular 2+ mean? That means they're using the more modern version of Angular that came out in 2016. I think right now it's it's version 12 right now. The idea being, though, is it was released as version 2.0 in 2016, and then they have regular releases, and each new major release gets a version bump. So Angular 2 all the way through Angular 12 is very similar. It has similar syntax. Most of what has changed is the internals, or maybe they've added some new stuff, new like modules, or like maybe slightly changed a way of doing it. But for the most part, there really aren't a lot of breaking changes from Angular 2 and up. But going from AngularJS to Angular is just completely different. So you'd have to rewrite your app. Cool. Is it being phased out? I would say no one really is reaching for AngularJS when they're building a new app. It's just too old. Like really these days, if you want to build something that's similar to AngularJS, but you want it to be more modern, you should probably reach for Vue.js. Let me take a quick stretch. Because Vue.js took a ton of influence from from AngularJS, like the way that you have directives on your elements and the way data binding happens and stuff like that. But Vue.js is very modern. They have a virtual DOM. It's very comparable to React, but it's written in a way that looks like AngularJS. So yeah, these days, AngularJS is pretty much being phased out. Nobody's really using it. But Angular, which is different, like we talked about, people are still reaching for this. And I would say you probably see Angular apps more in enterprise, so in larger companies with enterprise code bases. I was comparing it to Java earlier, which Java is typically used a lot in enterprise, really just because it has a lot of opinions. It tells you if you're going to do this specific thing, put it in this specific folder and give it this specific type of name. There's like a full test suite built in. There's lots of services that are built into it where you don't have to bring in other frameworks or other libraries to get that stuff done. It's all just there. But it is a lot. In that there's a lot of pieces, I guess. I don't know if that's a good way to put it. But these days, people are reaching for Angular. I personally don't like it because of all the the opinions that the framework has, but people are using that. So hopefully that answered the question. Hey. Is 700 pages in an app a lot? I would think so, but maybe your app needs that many pages. I don't know. Yeah, that's another thing Mihai Andre is saying. So nest.js is a backend framework for node.js that when you look at it looks very, very inspired by like enterprise Java, but it's for Node.js and JavaScript. And also similar to Angular with things like dependency injection and stuff like that. So if you're into that, check out Nest.js. Cool. I'm way behind on chat. All right, I'm gonna try to do a quick speed run of all the chat over here, and then we'll get into answering more questions. Because if you've noticed, today I've really just been reading the chat, which has been fun. If you watched Coding Garden 2 years ago, I used to read every single chat message. It's just not possible these days, but yeah. JavaScript, then TypeScript should have been named C# script. Yeah, I mean, the creator of TypeScript is one of the main C# guys, so yeah. Right now, I'm just looking at chat. I'm gonna go to the questions pretty soon, Baldy. Yeah. What's up, S-Fox and Yoki and Hey248? This is a thoughtful message. Thank you, TypeScript Tea Time. And what's up, Chuan? Stony Eagle says, I've seen many videos pop up on YouTube from you, but I could never get over the distractions from chat. Now I'm watching you live and I actually enjoy it. I enjoy your happy-go-lucky mojo. Oh, thanks. Yeah, so sometimes I declare chat bankruptcy and I just skip all of the messages that I missed, but I got time. I'm not trying to be anywhere. I mean, I do have to get back to work today. Let's see. My favorite sandwich, I really like a turkey bacon club. Like turkey bacon, guacamole. Yeah, that's kind of my go-to. So like if I go to actually, I have a special order when I go to Subway, but if I go to Quiznos, I'll get the turkey bacon club with avocado or like with guacamole. If I go to Chiba Hut, which is a place we have here in Denver, I think it's other places too. I like to get the Cali Mist, which is I think it's like basically a turkey bacon club. Let me show you Chiba Hut. Chiba Hut's a really fun place. It's very like stoner inspired when they make sandwiches. That's it. I believe that is the Cali Mist. Let's look at the menu though. So roasted turkey breast, bacon, chipotle mayo, jalapeno, avocado, pepper jack, lettuce, tomato. Yeah, so I get the Cali Mist. It's amazing. It's a great sandwich. And then if I go to Subway, I'll do something really weird. Let me tell you about it. And I guess I'll mention the sandwiches that I make at home. So I get deli meat, which is rotisserie seasoned chicken. So it's like sandwich meat, but it's chicken and it's seasoned like a rotisserie chicken. It's really good. So I'll get that and salami. I'll toast my bread, mayo on one side, sriracha on the other side. I'll put banana peppers, jalapenos, and guacamole. Putting guacamole on the sandwiches I make at home was a game changer. Really stepped it up. The Subway site isn't loading. I don't know. Subway is fine, but so their site isn't loading, but I'll tell you, here's what I do. I get a 6-inch Italian herbs and cheese with Black Forest ham, and then I just load it up with all the weird toppings. So I get onions, bell peppers, banana peppers, jalapenos, and then I put sweet onion sauce on it. Like there's a specific sandwich that takes the sweet onion sauce, but I'll put sweet onion sauce on that Black Forest ham. It's really good. Really good. Now I'm hungry. I haven't eaten lunch today. Oh man. Okay, what do I think about Blazor versus JavaScript? I don't have any experience with it. So, all right, we're gonna do a speed run. Speed run. You buy a sandwich for me? Nice. I think that's the thing. Like, eventually, if I retire from coding and Coding Garden, I'll start up a sandwich shop, and then I have a whole audience that's willing to come buy sandwiches. Maybe. Well, that's the thing. Nervous wreck. So we're talking earlier. I mentioned that I would be a sandwich maker, and I would be very methodical. You can be methodical and fast. Like, it's kind of an oxymoron, but I think you can. Like, you don't have to rush things. You don't have to just like pile the ingredients on. You can place them with care and with speed. So, yeah. Cool. Anybody that was having sub issues, refresh. Maybe that will fix it. That's what Acid Spark says. Got some more resubs though. Sledge Dog with the 18 months and Unfair with the 17 months. Thank you. I have Twitch Turbo. Can you not buy it anymore? What optimization measures will you do to a website that has millions of users? I've never had to do this because I've never worked on a website with millions of users. So, yeah. Why are there so many chat messages? No, I just need to get through chat. Hey, and then I'll start answering questions. Cool. I'm not going to read these out loud. I'm just going to take them in. If I feel like saying them out loud, I will. Yeah, go for it. Scrimba is a really cool place. If you haven't heard of Scrimba, that's also another place you can learn to code. But one of the cool things about it is I remember last time I tried to show this, like I had to actually log into an account, so I couldn't show it, but I'll describe it. So it's basically like a video course. However, at any point in time, you can pause the instructor and then actually click on their code and edit their code that they were just writing in the video. I think that describes it pretty well. It's actually pretty amazing. Check it out. Yeah. Thonveer, you're basically like interviewing me for a job. Like, how would you scale a site to millions of users? How would you, if it's not working in a specific region, how would you go about debugging it? I'd probably like maybe VPN initially, so I can pretend like I'm accessing it from that region. And then eventually you might just need to spin up a server in that region to reduce the slowness. Yeah. I might, Jesse. So yeah, if you saw, I think it was New Year's that she came on stream? But I've been talking with her because I think eventually I want to do possibly a podcast and she could be like a regular guest on there. There's some other things I definitely want to get her involved with. So Rails? I don't know how likely we'll do Rails on stream. Maybe? What's up, Dado Dom? I'm telling you, all the OGs are making an appearance. Thanks for being here. There's a lot of other people that haven't been around in a while, and they're here today. Enterprise software. I agree, Sheeny. Yeah, like the whole data structures and algorithms thing. Like the interviews that I have been conducting at my company are about they test practical things like, can you build an app with React? Which is what you're going to be doing on a daily basis. So it's probably better that you test that rather than can they reverse a linked list. But it depends on the company. The thing is, like, a company that doesn't do that kind of thing on the daily, that's interviewing with it, it's just a bad interview. So yeah. That's a good one, Krillian. If you think you're the smartest person in the room, you probably aren't. Yeah, I know that's one of the first questions that was asked. Baldy. We'll take a look at that one after I get done looking at the chat. Calm down, Ped. Develop software to help you with all that chat. That's what this is for. Like, so if you look back at my streams from like 2 years ago, what I used to do is after reading a chat message, I would acknowledge it. So like every single chat message I read, I would just acknowledge. And then eventually I'd be like at inbox 0. But now there's just too many messages to do that. I mean, I think human assisted AI or something like that would help. Like basically there could be a team sitting behind the scenes only showing chat messages that are like relevant to what I'm talking about right now, or really good questions that I probably should answer. But I don't have that team. I don't have those kind of resources. How far behind will I be by the end of the stream? Yeah. Microservice architecture or monolithic for a startup of 3 devs? Planning to scale up in the future. I don't think Doc is here today, but he had a really good piece of advice. Like, the thing is, if you're a startup, by the time you need to scale up, you're going to have to hire a whole new team of devs anyways, and you might even, like, that, like, scaling is a problem for the future. Like, right now, you just need to get to market. Right now, you just need to get the thing working, and you need to be able to move fast. Because you are a startup and you're lean. There's only a few developers. There's just a few of you. You can get that thing going. If you're trying to architect this thing so that it can handle millions of users, but you haven't even got a single user yet, it's probably a waste of time. So, yeah, I don't know. But that said, it is pretty easy to get up and going with microservices, but it also is really easy to have a really convoluted architecture and a really slow app because of the communication that has to happen between all of the microservices. And then the other aspect of it is when you have a bunch of different microservices, for any new developer that comes on, it's a lot harder for them to get that picture in their head of how the whole system is laid out. Whereas with a monolith, it's all in one repo. It's a bit easier to digest for a new developer. But these are all things to consider. Just do what you feel. P5.js and the processing org are amazing. I've collaborated with Dr. Daniel Schiffman before, and we've written a little bit of P5 on the stream. Check it out if you haven't. P5.js and the P5.js web editor specifically make it extremely easy for beginners to start coding and actually visually see what's happening. Check this out. I can draw a black square. Nice. I could also probably do a circle at X, Y, and then a radius of 50. And fill it with white. Will this work? Hey, it worked. But let's go to like 100. 100. Cool. So yeah, P5.js is great. Like you can just start making stuff. You can also like animate it. It's cool. All right, I'm still 15 minutes behind on chat. I've used D3, yeah. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of for Angular and Nest.js. Decorators. There's decorators everywhere. Yeah. I only tried Dino when they released version 1, like over a year ago. It seems really cool. I like the security model. What is dependency injection? Ask it over here, and I'll answer it, because it's an interesting topic. And we could implement it ourselves with... That would be a fun coding example. Implement dependency injection. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the kind words. Anders Hellsberg. Is this the C# guy? Janked. Thanks for the prime sub. Yeah, this is him. I was at Microsoft Build in 2016, and I watched him. I've said this on stream before, but some of you might not have heard it. But I watched him click the button that made the .NET Core, or the .NET, I think it's like the .NET compiler service that made it open source on Code Project, which I don't think exists anymore. Now everybody's using GitHub. Not Code Project. There was another site where they used to host code stuff, but I was there. I was there when he clicked the button to open source it. Okay. Here, we can turn on some music while I scroll chat. I made myself hungry. I need to eat some food. I haven't thought about that, Plexical. That's true. The thing about Subway is there's probably a better sandwich place. Not that far from it. But Subway is really fast. I don't know. Subway's fine. You just had more ads? Okay, I might just turn them off. So my current ad density is 2 minutes of ads every hour. I'll turn the music down. Is that horrible? Is that too many ads? The thing is, I don't have any ads on YouTube. I have them all disabled. You haven't missed it yet, I bought it. Let's say, hey 248, it depends on where you are in the world, because it's going to vary drastically, even within the United States. If you're on East Coast versus West Coast versus like Central United States, it varies. And then it varies in other countries too. So you really have to look at your specific place in the world to see how much junior devs make. I'm not driving 8 hours for a coding garden sandwich. Why not? Why not? What I think about Golang for backend seems cool. I haven't really used it. I think I used it like once. Is there a way in JavaScript to declare a reference in memory like in C++? No, basically all variables that are not primitive types are references. I mean, you can create a variable that points to another variable, but you can't create a variable that points to a memory location with JavaScript. You might be able to do that with WebAssembly, but I don't know if you can with WebAssembly. Thunveer says, those are the questions they asked me in the interview. Yeah, see, you were trying to interview me. Hello, Lurky Duck. What's up, Prodis for testing? I've been pretty good. I mainly talk, and what's up, Typhurius? I mainly talk about JavaScript, but we've done C# in the past and like a little bit of Python, but it's mostly JavaScript. What would you do if someone has your IP? Because someone has my IP address. I looked everywhere on the internet. You can potentially get a new IP address from your internet service provider. Just unplug your modem, leave it unplugged for 20, 30 minutes and then plug it back in, and they might give you a new IP address. Unless you pay to have a static IP address, and then it'll never change. But my recommendation is just unplug your modem, go for a long walk, and then come back and see if your IP changed. There's also a command you can run, but I don't know how you would get it to reassociate for your modem and not your laptop, so yeah. Thank you, Ped. Where do I volunteer to be a human AI chat sorter? I mean, I think eventually if we did something like that, it would be the mod team. But I think it would have to be a separate team because the mods moderate. Though, the mods know me very well and would know what questions I like to answer, that kind of thing. Yeah. Instead of the button, why don't you click on the chat card to remove it, or using shift-click? Well, I don't know. These days, I use the archive button like that for very specific things. Like, if I don't want a message to show up on this chat overlay, I can. Well, I can't demonstrate right now because I'm still 9 minutes behind on chat. But when I click that button, it removes it over there too. This is a good comment from Krampus. For the microservice question, if you cannot create a good monolith, you will definitely fail with microservices. Oh, okay, I missed the not. I thought this just said, you cannot create a good monolith, and you will definitely fail with microservices. Like, there's no good option. Just don't do anything. Move fast, break things, then scale. I agree with that. Yeah, so new hire onboarding with large microservice projects can be a nightmare. Yeah. Did you ever see that diagram of the, I think, was it Uber microservices? It's just spaghetti. It's like we've gone from spaghetti code to spaghetti microservices. Microservices. Refactoring your teams. This is the communication path between all the microservices. I don't think any of these are the actual image, but there was an article that was published a while back that showed it. Is this their microservice diagram, or is this... Yeah, it is. Introducing domain-oriented microservice architecture. So all of these little dots are a separate microservice, and all of the lines are the communications between those microservices. Okay. Okay. Calm down, Lurky Duck. Don't, I mean, ask somebody else. Don't ask us. No one click this link. No one click that link. I don't do a ton of SQL, mainly because I use an ORM in the apps that I'm building, so an object relational mapper. So most of the code I write is higher level, like it's JavaScript code that generates SQL. But every now and then I have to dial into a database with SQL. It literally has my IP. So here's the thing. IP address API. I'll give you my IP right now because I'm on a VPN. But look at this. This website tells you what my IP address is. Just because a website tells you it has your IP address doesn't mean some nefarious person or a hacker has your IP address. So it could just be a scam. Like they're just saying, we know what your IP address is. You need to fix that. Like, this is currently my IP address, and I'm okay with you all knowing that. For one, I'm on a VPN, so like, if you tried to attack this IP address, you'd be attacking the VPN and not me. But regardless, it is possible for a website to display your IP address because that's how the web works. Like, they couldn't serve you the web page without knowing the IP address that they need to send the response back to. So, yeah. Let's stop talking about the scammer Lurky Duck. I'm sure there's other places that you could get some help. TFS. Oh, you triggered nightmares, post-traumatic stress. I don't know. But Team Foundation Service is Microsoft's way of handling source code. We used to use that at a company that I worked at. Now most places just use Git, but at the company that I worked at the time, there was one team that was just afraid of Git. They're like, if we use Git, every developer is going to have their own branches and their own fork of the code, and nobody's going to be collaborating anymore. They really didn't understand collaboration with Git, because TFS was very similar to like Subversion, where a developer could check out a specific file and then literally no one else could modify that file while it was checked out. I don't know. We're almost caught up, I feel like. Do I hate? I don't hate Angular. I don't hate many things. I just don't prefer it because there are other ways to build apps that I prefer. Yeah. What would you want to ask the people who hacked your IP? What questions do you have for them? I don't know if that was meant to be a joke, but that was funny to me. Yeah. I remember the days of, anybody here use Inbox from, so I mean, I have a Gmail account, as in most people do, but they used to have this app called Inbox, which they got rid of for whatever reason, but it was really cool because you basically could, like, it was really cool. I don't know why they got rid of it. It was way better than Gmail. I mean, maybe it was losing them money, but the amount of integrations and like automatic stuff it did so much better than Gmail were great. But they had a thing where you basically, like, you would try to get to inbox 0, where you could basically say, like, you've seen or you've read every single message, and then you get to a place where it's just a nice little sunshine, like you've reached inbox 0. I don't know. Oh, that's cool, Stony. Did Uncle Bob's solid principles influence the way you code in JavaScript? I'll say I don't know any of the exact names of design patterns from like the Gang of Four, or any of the exact terms that are used in Uncle Bob's clean code book. I personally haven't actually I've skimmed those books, but I haven't read them and like taken them to heart. I have worked in code bases where the developers that worked in those code bases before me knew those principles and applied them, and I just learned from the code that those developers had written. So actually, I don't even know what solid stands for. I just try to write good code, good understandable code. Yeah. Typhurious? I don't know. Maybe if I open it up in a incognito window. What do you mean? So how is GitHub managing to render a sphere with all the fancy uploads in real time on the world on their main page? So this is actually a really interesting question. Let's dive into it. So how is this page working right now? So first of all, you have the question of, how do they even get this 3D animation on the page? We could explain that. It's probably using like 3JS or something like that. The other question is, how are they getting this data in real time? The answer to that is probably WebSockets, but also this might just be fake data. So like, if we look into it, it could just be that this is just an animation and it's not actual real data, but let's see. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna open up the developer tools, go to the network tab, and then refresh the page. And I'm gonna see if we see any requests happening that give us more information that have to do with this. So like, there was this post to stats. I think that was just logging like what I'm doing on the web page. If I filter by WebSockets, so this WS is real-time connection, like real-time communication to a server, there's nothing there either. So my guess is the data is fake. Like, the data is embedded or download when the page loads, and then it's just an animation. Like this, I think the stats is just analytics. It's not actually It's not actually stats for this diagram. Cool. And then we can inspect this diagram and see that it is a WebGL canvas. So all of the stuff that we're seeing, the spinning globe, is using WebGL, which is a way of doing real-time animations on a web page. And they're probably using something like 3JS, which makes writing WebGL code really, really easy. Let's look at some of their examples. Like we could look at, let's look at this one. Like this is running in my web browser. This is literally rendering stuff out. We could probably find, yeah, like here's some circles. There's like this circle, and all of these have code examples. So you can click out here and you can see exactly how they wrote it. So they created a renderer and did all this stuff. So that's the answer to that. How is this working? First of all, the data isn't real time. And second of all, it's just a nice little animation using WebGL. Cool. They have the globe on 3JS? Okay. All right. I was almost caught up on chat, and then we got distracted. Would a mono repo just be a circle around that diagram? I don't think so. So this is where we're talking about the microservices thing from Uber. I don't think so, because all of those lines are network communications. Each of those microservices that talk to each other have to communicate over the network. So it's like a network request. Whereas a mono repo, any code that needs to communicate with other code is just code. It's not happening over the network. It's happening within the runtime. So you probably could draw a similar diagram in terms of how the parts of the monolith communicate, but it's not, the clear distinction is it's not happening over the network, it's happening within the code itself. Yeah, not mono. Yeah, so mono repo is one repo. They could have those microservices in a mono repo. A mono repo is different from a monolith. A monolith is just one big app, whereas a mono repo is a single repo with a lot of apps. Yeah, I confused the two. Yeah. No, so for SQL, I use Objection.js as my preferred ORM. It's a beautiful thing. I prefer it much more than Sequelize. And Monk is for Mongo, which is nice to just get a quick DB connection. Yeah, and like Narag is saying, every server you connect to has your IP. It has to. That's how the internet works. Azure DevOps. Well, that's fun, Slice Rabbit. Did you change your name? Or you had to have. Are you Aaron? Have I mentioned this before? You've been following since October 20th. Yeah. Who are you, Slice Rabbit? Your icon looks like somebody that was like Aaron or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, inbox is great. Everyone agrees. Was right on the. Okay, let's actually go there. So if we go to 3js.org on the main page. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, they just link out. No, so there we go. They are using 3JS. That's hilarious. If you haven't, go check out 3js.org. Each of these links goes out to some website that's using their library. And specifically, look, they link to GitHub. It's literally right there. That's funny. There you are. Okay, Slice Rabbit. Glad to hear it. Sorry I outed you, but you have VIP, so I was like, I have to know who you are. Greg! Thank you for the resub. What else we got? Yeah, and Janked with the Prime sub earlier. Much appreciated. Stoney says, I have a funny story. I used my server as a pfSense router and a VM. Assigned 80 gigabyte RAM to it. The reactions in Call of Duty when you're the last one on their enemy team, they can't DDoS. Ah. That's funny. For a second, it just sounded like technobabble. Like this is a sentence from like a cyberpunk novel with all these made-up words. But now I get it. So back in the day, people tried to denial of service each other because you could figure out their IP address, flood them with traffic, and then they'd be like kicked off the game server. And then when people tried to DDoS Stony Eagle, they couldn't because he had a fast enough computer and way too many connections available that they couldn't fill it up. Nice. Here we go. Here's solid. Single responsibility, open closed, Liskov substitution, interface segregation, and dependency inversion. Here's the thing. I don't have that memorized and I don't really know exactly what each of those are, but if I saw examples of them, I could probably tell you where I've used something like that in the real world. That's just where I'm at with all of that. So, all right. I think we've done it, everyone. We've caught up. KTB says, have you ever done a Chrome extension project? We have. When I had Brooke Zerker on as a guest. Yeah, you're welcome, Typhurious. Shout out. Brooke Zerker. Definitely go follow. Did I spell that right? Yeah, this is him. Go follow him. He writes like Rust code and does some other stuff. But I had him as a guest on the stream, and we had some chat suggestions, and then we built a Chrome extension that replaces the word the on every web page with something. I forget what it was. But yeah, we did a basic one. It wasn't anything useful. Cool. Oh, let's see, Typhurious. Like, let's see what you mean by that. I think the fancy animations are still, yeah, it's likely real data. So I'm just saying that this data isn't flowing in real time. Like this isn't new active connections. How do I click on it? You're saying I can mouse over and then click? But what I'm saying is this is basically just a list of pre-existing data between 2 points that's there when the page loads, and then they just display it on the map. It's not real time what is happening. It could be. There's definitely a way to do it, but I don't think this is. And then the other aspect is, like, if I can click on these, 3JS has a way of intercepting like when a specific point was clicked and then doing something based on that specific point. And we could figure out what data point they were closest to when we clicked on it and then open a tab with that. But I can't click it. Well, thank you, Matt. Thanks for being here. Oh, you're welcome, Lurky Duck. They have a blog post. Look at that. Look at that. How we built the GitHub globe. Rendering the globe with WebGL. All right. Visualizing pull requests. Amazing. that's hilarious. Typhurious, just go read that article. Just go read this article. They'll tell you exactly what they did. Yeah. Real data preloaded. That's my hunch as well. Flag.object. Okay. All right. People are figuring it out. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, microservices would be fun. I watched like the first part of a video that was released on the Free Code Camp channel from a guy. I forget his name, but I'm gonna look him up because he deserves a shout out. But it was on micro front ends, which I had heard about, but didn't really know anything about. I thought it was a recent upload. Oh, what? Yeah, 9 days ago. Jack Harrington. Yeah, go check out Jack Harrington. He's a good dude. A lot of good tutorials and stuff. But the specific video was on micro front end. So you just take the concept of microservices and apply it to the front end. But specifically, he was using a framework to do it. And one of the cool things about it was like, so there are different ways of sharing components between projects. And specifically, this is using, let me see if I can find it in the source code. I think it's in the Webpack config. Yeah, there's a module federation plugin. And this thing basically makes it so that a React app can dynamically load React components from some web URL. So basically all of your React apps can publish their components, and then any one of your other React apps can bring in those components over the web. Like, it doesn't have to be like a source code link or an npm install. So that was a really interesting concept. Though there are other ways of sharing components between apps. This just makes it fairly seamless, and it happens over the web. I don't know. I digress. I think we're caught up on chat. We're basically caught up, and now we're going to answer a few questions. Oh, yeah, I guess that's the other interesting aspect is like, it has a project generator where you could choose Vue, you could choose React. Yeah, I found the end. Are you proud of me, chat? Can I get some smiles in chat because we made it to the end? I don't really know about the performance of that aspect of micro frameworks or anything like that. But that was one of the cool things. You could generate an app with Vue or React or some of the other things and then share components. I think another interesting aspect of that is if you build the components or like bundle them into web components, then they absolutely could be shared between other apps because it's not framework specific or dependent. All right. For those of you that were waiting for me to answer a question, you're going to hate this, but I am going to take a quick break because I've been live for 2 hours, which have been talking for 2 hours. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'll come back and I'll answer these questions to the best of my ability. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a video. Let's find one. To the best of my ability. Yeah, I mean, I don't know everything. I know some things. Put it up on the screen so that I won't read chat. I mean, I might do something like that where while the thing is, I appreciate what a lot of people have to add about the things that I'm answering, because in certain scenarios where I don't know the answer to a question, we get some good insights from chat. So I like keeping the chat up. Thank you, Matt. Have a good sleep. We'll see you. Reddit client video is it's really long though, isn't it? What did I want to do? Content? All these are fairly long. Quick tip, resolve a git merge conflict local. Actually, we'll do a poll. Which video? Git merge conflict? Count sheep? Or probably like a code kata speed run? Or free online coding resources? Or destructuring in JS. All right, vote now for what video we should watch while I'm away. I have a Firefox extension called, what is it called? YouTube something? Enhancer for YouTube, I think is what it's called. And you can choose a theme, and I chose the green theme because this is the coding garden. All right, we'll just do git merge conflict. Quick tip. Resolve git merge conflict locally. What is happening? Yeah, so the enhancer for YouTube adds all this extra stuff. Like this, you can pop out the video in a new tab. What do I think about YouTube removing dislikes? It's interesting that they allow people to still dislike, but they just don't surface it publicly. Because it's still an algorithm signal. I guess that's one of the aspects. So it's an algorithm signal, and that if a video gets disliked, it will potentially be suggested less to other people, or videos of that type will be suggested less to the person that thumbs downed it. So like that's how it influences the algorithm. Hiding it makes it so that when someone comes across a video that they haven't seen before, they don't necessarily have an indicator of if the video is good or not. And that's what the downvotes potentially helps with. Like sometimes like the thumbs down is just like hate brigading, because like people, no, I balled it. You can watch the VOD. I'll figure out the answer, and you can watch the VOD. Also, I have every bit of confidence that you could probably figure out the answer to that question, but we'll see ya. And what's up, Mr. Ectic? So yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, because new people that come across a video sometimes use the number of thumbs down as an indicator as to whether or not they should watch the video. So I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't get a lot of dislikes on my video in general. Like, I'll show you this right now. I mean, it's probably going to change just because I'm mentioning it, and so people are going to go there and just start downvoting it. But on the most recent video I posted to YouTube, oh, they don't show it. They already removed it. But this video has 317 thumbs up, and it only has 1 thumbs down. Last time I checked. But yeah, they've already hidden it, right? Crazy. But yeah, it doesn't affect me that much. I don't know. I think it affects the YouTube consumer, because they have less indicators on whether or not a video is good, and they should spend or invest their time in watching it. All right, I'll be back in when this video is over. Enjoy it. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. We're here hanging out on Twitch. You should join us. But I am currently looking at a pull request on one of my repos. So you see that thing that just popped up? This is the repo that manages that. And Murdoch, who's a great person, he's VIP here on the channel. He has made a pull request to change some things. But if we look on GitHub, for whatever reason, there's actually a conflict on his pull request. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to solve this conflict locally. So on GitHub, you can actually click this button, resolve conflicts, and then it gives you like this visual editor, and then you can go in and choose what code you want to keep. That's really cumbersome, and it's not my editor, so I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this branch down locally, merge it with master and fix any merge conflicts that might occur. So let's do this. So we can see right now, and here's the thing, Murdoch has direct access to this repo, which is why he's created it on a branch on this repo called Murdy1. So he's not working off of a fork, he's working on this specific repo that he has access to, and he's created a branch. So what I'm gonna do is locally, I have my code here. I'm gonna first make sure that I'm on the latest master. I am. I'm then gonna do a git fetch, and that's gonna fetch all remote branches if I don't yet have them. Cool, and you can see that it now has this Murdy1 branch, and that's the branch that I want to check out and resolve the merge conflicts on. So I will do git checkout -b Murdy1. Oh, not dash b. Don't do dash b. No. So dash b means you want to create that branch. I don't want to create that branch, and git stopped me from doing that. I just want to check out the existing branch that I pulled from origin. So let's check it out. Great. And it says I'm behind by 1 commit for whatever reason, so I'm going to do git pull origin murdy-1. So this will, so I'm on the branch, but I'm also going to make sure that I have all the latest changes on that branch as well. So we'll do that. Yeah, so that did that. And now the issue is there's a conflict with merging into master. So what I'm going to do right on this branch is I'm going to say git pull origin master. Now, people have talked about like rebasing and stuff like that. I'm just going to pull from master, and this will either have a merge conflict or it will auto merge. Let's see what happens. Merge conflict. So now I can resolve it locally. So I'm going to open this up with VS Code. VS Code is nice. Actually, if you click on the source control tab here, wait, what? ESLint extension will use a locally installed ESLint library for validation. Do you want to use it? Sure, I guess. Okay, but if you click on the git icon here, you can see where potential merge conflicts are. And is there a merge conflict? Yeah, so auto merging conflict, merge conflict in app.js. So if we take a look at app, there are some things here. So Git will actually show you, and not Git, VS Code will actually show you where the merge conflicts are, and it will actually, it's very easy to say which one you want to keep. And basically, I want to keep anything right now that uses this plan types variable, because he like did some copy and pasting, and he accidentally put in the wrong variable. So I want the plan types variable. So I'm going to accept the current change. And so this is nice. This is built into VS Code. It basically allows you to choose one chunk of code. If I wasn't using VS Code, I would basically just see those arrows, those less than and greater than signs like we saw on GitHub, and I could manually remove them and choose which code I want. But this is nice enough to allow me to pick and choose. And so I'm pretty sure, like technically, like we could break it. We could break the code right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept anything that says plan types on it, because that's the right variable. So this one, great. And then what is different here? Yeah, this is plan types. Cool. So I'm going to accept that one. And all of the merge conflicts are gone. So if we look over in the Git thingy, yeah, it's telling us what's changed, but now at this point I need to commit my changes. So I've resolved all of the conflicts. I should probably check and see if it's working. And I'm getting all kinds of issues with my linter. Why is this happening? Oh, you know what? This project doesn't even have a linter. This project is all messed up. So yeah, so like the overlay is technically running, and it is using browser sync. Towns with the raid. Thank you very much, Towns. Towns? Towons. How do you say your name? But welcome to the show. Welcome, Raiders. We're currently talking about Git. You're going to be in a YouTube video. Welcome. If someone wants to give me money, I wouldn't mind. It would help us test to make sure that this is still working. We'll just wait. How much is left on? Yeah, we have 3 minutes left on focus mode. Let's see if anybody wants to give me money. I'll wait here with you. Real coders don't test. David Snyder with the 10 bits. Thank you very much, David, for those bits. We can see the bits. Yeah, so on cheer, thanks for the bits. And actually, let's end with 100 bits. Thank you very much for the bits. No, honestly though, I think what we need to test is sub. So I'm gonna give somebody a sub, unless somebody gives a sub first. Money. Actually, save your bits. Save your bits because we're gonna test the bits messages in a bit. So don't send me any more bits. Stop with the bits. Okay. What am I doing? I'm fishing for easy money. Exactly. Why not make a test for it? I think you just ruined my YouTube video, Jer, by asking that question. I'm just kidding. Mainly because it's actually it's not that easy to test TMI. I know there is someone on the Live Coders team that created a testing service that like mocks. Yeah, I have green hair. Oh, you haven't been here since the green hair? Welcome, Majestic Guy. But they created a service that mocks TMI or Twitch IRC events. Unit test it, yeah. All right, what am I doing? This. All right, we just want to make sure that this actually shows up. Here we go. Are you ready? Wait, Acid is gifting a sub. Me too. Hey, it works. Coding Garden has gifted 5 subscriptions to the garden. GG. All right, who got gifted? Baby Cookie, @Bully, Loot, Alan, Jerben. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so it's working. So we have successfully tested it. It's working. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to commit this code. So what you saw me do was fix the merge conflicts. There's a lot of other bad stuff wrong with this code. I'm not looking at that right now. We just fixed the merge conflict. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit those changes. So if you look at this, there are if we look at this, there are unmerged changes on that file that I just fixed. So I'm going to add it, commit it, and we're going to say sparkles merge with master. Cool. And then now I'm going to push up to that branch. So I'll do git push origin merdy-1. And thank you very much, Sean, for the gifted sub. Much appreciated. And Kuzi has gifted 0 subscriptions to the garden. What? What? Why did it... It's broke. But congrats to Binawad, who got gifted by Kuzi. Eternal Dev Coder with the $5 tip. Thank you very much, Eternal Dev Coder. Who says nothing. But I appreciate you, Eternal Dev. Okay, yeah, now we have to merge it back. Right. So we got distracted. This YouTube video is longer than it should have been, but that's okay. So we just pushed up to the Merdy1 branch. Now, when I look here, we should no longer see a merge conflict, right? So now that I brought the code down manually, I fixed the merge conflict, I pushed up those changes, and so now GitHub is able to automatically merge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squash this commit and merge it. To squash it means we're going to take all 4 of these commits that were part of this pull request and push them into a single commit, so that way the main commit history doesn't have a bunch of events like this. So added subtypes, prime paid upgrade, events, added those things. I'm just coming up with a succinct message here. So rebuilt TMI, cool. All right, so we're gonna squash it, merge it, and now all of this code has made it back into master. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this branch. I like to keep my branches clean, only keep the branches around that I need. And if we look back over here on the master branch, it has the latest changes. And if we look at the commits, we can see that there is this commit, which was all of that code change that we just did there. So that's it. Is this YouTube content? I don't know. Hopefully that was useful for you, and we'll see you next time. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Did you guys like that video? Yeah, succinct means Straight and to the point. Oh yeah, that's true, Ibaldi. We delete. Oh, you know what? If I have that specific repo still locally, we could test it out. Cool. So, first question we're gonna answer, and if you're just joining us, you've arrived at the coding garden. Hello, is it me you're looking for? And we talk about code here, and right now I'm answering questions. If you have questions, don't ask them, because we already have 34 questions that I'm going to try and answer, and then I'll end the stream. But this question comes from Ibaldi, and it is, how can I sync and remove all my local branches after merging and deleting remote branches? So this has to do with Git. And if you just watched that video, I deleted the branch on GitHub, and I think it should still exist locally. I think this is chat over alerts. What is anybody remember the name of the folder that I was working in? Stream, I think it's stream overlay alerts. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, so look at this. Great. We can try to use this as an example. So this is my local copy of the repo. I still have that Murdy-1 branch, but if we look at this repo on GitHub, is it prune? I don't know. If it is, it's going to be really easy to do. But you can see on GitHub, there's quite a few branches because of Dependabot. But the Murdy-1 branch is not here on, yeah, we're answering questions now, is not here on GitHub. So I want to remove that one locally and get all of the branches that are on GitHub to my local. Now, I do know the git fetch command. So git fetch will bring down all of the branches that were on GitHub so that I have access to them locally. So now when I do git branch, at least I thought, I honestly don't know, so we're going to figure it out together. Git fetch all remote branches. Thank you, Grandmaster. How to fetch all branches. Git fetch -- all. Fetching origin. Oh, they did this. So git branch -r. I see. So this, what would be the benefit of having it locally still? Oh, if you wanted to work on that branch, but in this case, there is no benefit, which is why we want to get rid of it. Now, I could just delete it directly, but we're trying to figure out is an automatic way to sync all of my local branches with the remote branches. And for whatever reason, though, it does say that Murdy-1 is a branch on the remote. It's not there. Git remote prune origin. It's still there though. Oh, you know what it is though? I believe I checked out a branch locally that I did manually. So that's why this one's not going to get automatically removed. In the video, I specifically created a branch called Murdy. Didn't I create a branch called Murdy-1 and then pulled the latest changes into it? Is that what I did? Let's do a git pull. So git branch -r lists remote branches. Huh. Okay, regardless, let's see if we can find git remove all remote branches that don't exist anymore. Oh yeah, I'll do yours next, SFox. Remove tracking branches no longer on remote. Is there a way to simply delete all the tracking branches whose remote equivalent no longer exists? This is the question. Git remote prune origin prunes tracking branches not on the remote. Git branch -- merge lists branches that have been merged in the current branch. I see. So they're combining these 3 commands. So I believe there's no way to do it built in. At least in the year 2015, there was no way to do it built in, or even in the year 2020 because it was edited in 2020. After the command removes the remote references, so git fetch -p. When you run this, it will list gone. No, it's... Look, it does say origin /merdy1 though. Okay. Yeah, both of these answers are basically combining all of these commands together. So they run this command to get all of the merged branches. They output that into this file. Then they pass all of those branches into git branch -d. Though in my case, this would not have worked because it would... it didn't list out the merdy1 branch. So that's where I'm going to end it. Hi, Baldy. I don't have a good answer for you. Ultimately, I would say check out this command might work for you because I have like maybe a different scenario where I like manually created the branch. But yeah, and see you later, Jesse Dev. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, so xargs is a Unix command. It's built into pretty much any Linux style terminal that you're in. And I'm on a Mac, which is based on OpenBSD or FreeBSD, which is Unix based. So I have the xargs command. But xargs is a way of passing arguments into a command. So does that mean your local branch? Yeah, I think for whatever reason, locally, because I merged it on GitHub, it doesn't show me that here for some reason. So my answer to your question, Ibaldi, is look at this Stack Overflow thread. Maybe one of those will work for you. Wait, where'd the Twitch chat go? But personally, I've never tried to clean up my local branches. I mean, here's something that works for pretty much any trouble you run in with Git. Rename the folder, do a fresh clone, and then delete the old folder. And now all of those old local branches are gone. And only the branches that exist on the remote will exist. That might even be faster than trying to run one of these commands. That's the sure way to do it for sure. Like, because if you do a fresh clone, you're not going to have any of those local branches anymore. I don't know. You could even put that into a command that a single command you run that renames the folder, clones it into a new folder, deletes the old folder, renames the new folder, all in one command. I don't know. Yeah, turn it off and back on again. That's basically it. All right, let's see what. And I didn't have a good answer for you, Ibaldi, but yeah, it's the classic Git answer. But yeah, let's see what SFox has. Oh, this app doesn't show the name, but yeah, it's me, SFox. Cool. After spending a lot of time in React and then spending a decent amount of time in Vue, I've come to the realization that React is a lot of unnecessary complexities that should have to be thought about. Shouldn't have to be thought about. What's your take on this? No, I agree. So my take is a similar one to Rich Harris, who's the guy that made Svelte. Not that Rich Harris. I think that's his name. Is that his name? Yeah, that's his name. But he did a talk about Svelte where he rethinking reactivity. This is the one. I'll leave this for you all as homework. Go watch that video. But in that video, he talks about how in React, a lot of the API methods are actually just abstraction leaks. So for example, like use memo. is a way of creating a memoized value. And he just mentioned how basically, like, React has exposed this method so that you can use it to create memoized values. But if you look at how other frameworks do it, they do it in a less like explicit way. Like in Vue, you just have computed properties. You set up all your computed properties, you now have memoized values. In Svelte, you use the attribute syntax to say that a specific line of code should be rerun if its dependencies change. And so he just talks about how in React, a lot of the things are exposed to developers that actually make the code more confusing or make the developers do more work than is necessary in a lot of other frameworks. I didn't phrase that very eloquently. I would say go watch his video and you can see his take on it. But I completely agree. Like there are a lot of things in React that require a lot of extra code, and that's just because the things like aren't built in. Like there is no automatic data binding. Like in Vue, you can use vmodel. In React, you can't. You have to set up the change listener and then set up the state update and handle it all by yourself, which are essentially abstraction leaks. Like a framework or a library is meant to abstract away the details so that you as a developer can be more productive. But React has a lot of things that are not abstracted away from the developer, which creates more complex code. So yeah. So I agree. I completely agree. But at the same time, it really depends on the developer that's using the thing, because a lot of people prefer that about React. They're like, I have complete control and it's not doing things that I don't know about. But in most scenarios, it's actually a good thing if it's doing things that you don't know about, because that's less code that you have to write and maintain. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Hopefully that was helpful, insightful in some way. Bashma, let's see what Bashma said. If you do fetch for latest state, then reset to origin master, then run git clean. Let's try git clean. Oh, no! I had unstaged changes. I think my overlay alerts are going to break now because that file disappeared. I'll have to look into that earlier, but if the alert stops showing up, that's why. But Greg, thanks for that resub, and Jim McDonald, thanks for the 18 months. So that's definitely not a command I wanted to run. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm done with that question, and also because like I don't really ever need to do that, and a fresh git clone is how I would solve it anyways. It's faster than trying to figure it out. Okay, if you have asked a question, type =! Here in the chat. Those questions will bubble up, and I'll try to answer those first. Pick up the pieces from the git cache. And what's up, Alka? Are they there? Like it removed this. I'm gonna say, yeah, force it. Why not? -F. Oh well, I could probably figure it out. No worries, Ibaldi. No. It's just code. I can always just write it again. Also, I should probably commit my changes because they just sit here uncommitted. All right, so this question was asked by Veritatas 2 hours ago. What do you think of putting all the logic in the SQL database with procedures and such? This is a way of building apps that I haven't really done in my career. Like most every app I've built in my career handles most of the database logic in application code, meaning there is, I mean, and you've seen me write express apps this way. Like there is a route handler that has code in it, or it's calling a function that does it, that accesses the database with JavaScript, gets back some data, manipulates that data, and then responds with that data. So that's just the way that I build apps, and I'm used to building apps. There is another way, which is you can actually put that logic for querying the data, restructuring it, You would still need node.js to call that stored procedure, which is what they're called. But all of that code is actually SQL code and is stored in the database as a stored procedure. And so that's another way to do it. In some ways, stored procedures are a bit more secure than having that actual database code in your Node.js app, because when you invoke a stored procedure, it's like less prone to things like injections, because sometimes it won't take in any arguments at all. So it's you basically just say, run this function that gives me back this specific data formatted in a way, and then you just get back that data. So there's less room for your application code to potentially expose things from your database that it shouldn't. The other aspect of doing it that way is like everything is just written in SQL, so you can everything's in the same language. You're not using a higher level abstraction like an ORM or something like that. So what do I think about it? I think it's one way to build an app. I think it's in the apps that I build, it would be slower because I don't know SQL as well. And then also you have to think about, how do you manage the source code for those stored procedures, right? So like if you're on a team and you're writing these stored procedures, how do you keep track of changes to them? Because they're actually stored in your database, right? You technically could have them written in your code base that's stored on Git, and then have a way of syncing those written stored procedures to your database. But that's another process that you'd have to set up, which is why I like having it in my application code. It's part of the Git commit history. You can see when changes are made to the functions, and it's not somebody couldn't go rogue and just update it in production, and now it's out of sync, and we don't have that latest code in our source control. That's one downside to it. But yeah, it's a thing. I will say some of the apps I've worked on recently did have stored procedures, but that was mainly because we were building like an integration service. So basically there was an app that was written a really long time ago, and we couldn't touch it. It was a desktop app that communicated with a database. But the company that we were working with, wanted to integrate it with a third-party service. And so they basically wanted that third-party service to be able to access and modify all of the data that the app was modifying. So we wrote some database triggers that would automatically push into a queue anytime a database change was detected. And then there were some stored procedures that processed that data that got pushed into the queue. And then we actually had some C# code that would read from the queue and then do something in the integration app. So in that scenario, it made sense because we couldn't touch the application code. We only had access to the database. I don't know. Thanks for your question. Yeah, the best ORM for Node, I really like Objection. It's probably not the best, but I really prefer it. Objection.js. I've used Sequelize. I've used Bookshelf. What else have I used? Probably a few others, but by far, Objection is one of my favorites. Yeah. At work, our backend basically just passes everything to the database. Our boss says it's performance. Yeah, I would say, like, depending on what is happening in that stored procedure, it's likely that it can be faster because it's happening directly on the database instead of on the application server, like on the running process. So your app can spend more time serving up requests and not dealing with like data manipulation. So that is one aspect of it. It could potentially slow your database down though, and then all of your database writes are slower. I don't know. It's trade-offs. You usually need monstrously large query responses to win from the overhead of writing stored procedures. Yeah, so it depends on what kind of data you're dealing with and how much data is returned from that stored procedure to get better performance than if it was just in application code. Who's to say? All right, if you're here, type exclamation mark here in the chat. It'll bubble up. Oh, if you asked a question specifically. Cool. From Bashmash, who made me run a command that deleted my files. who says, what do I think about TypeScript as a beginner? And can you recommend a course I think is awesome? Thanks. Cool. So if you're a beginner web developer, JavaScript is usually your main language. But there's this thing called TypeScript, which basically turns JavaScript into a statically typed language. And it's really useful if you're on a large team. There's a lot of people working on the project. TypeScript is kind of like embedded documentation about your code because everything is type annotated and it's potentially easier to follow for new developers on the team versus JavaScript. So that's the thing. I use TypeScript at work mainly because other people eventually are going to be maintaining or working on my code, and it's a lot easier than writing like separate documentation. Yeah, and in terms of courses, I don't know of any. I mean, I only know of the TypeScript Lang website. That's how I learned everything I needed to know about TypeScript. They do have like a playground. You can look at their handbook. And I would say like specifically, you're probably using TypeScript with something else. So TypeScript and React or TypeScript and Vue. And that's a whole nother thing because you can learn the TypeScript language itself, but a lot of times it's more so how do you apply that TypeScript stuff to the certain framework that you're working in, which sometimes can be tricky, depending on what you're doing. So that's a thing. But and then the other aspect of this is I do think that, yeah, definitely check out Traversy Media. I know he has some videos on TypeScript. Check him out. And then, like I was saying, I would try to seek out tutorials that are more specific to what you're doing with it, like TypeScript React, for example. But yeah, the other aspect is, let's say you're a beginner JavaScript developer. You ask the question, should I learn TypeScript? I think so, mainly because you learn to think about programs a little bit differently when you're doing things in a statically typed way. JavaScript is a dynamic language. You can do a lot of dynamic things. TypeScript is much more strict and requires you to annotate types on everything and prevents you from doing certain things if you're trying to mix types or assign things to a type that it is not, or dynamically access things without predefining it. So if you learn TypeScript, it will teach you a lot about that. And all of that knowledge is transferable to any other statically typed language that you work in, like C# or Java or C++, or any of the other statically typed languages. So as a beginner, should you learn TypeScript? Get a good handle on JavaScript first, then yeah, jump into TypeScript as a launching point to some other statically typed language. Cool. Hopefully that answered your question. Newblazer has a question. When would you say a coder is ready to apply for junior web dev jobs? I would say if you can be given a problem statement or a description of an app or like a feature on an app that you've already worked on. So I want you to build an app that does XYZ. If you yourself can figure out how to build that app, I mean, and whether or not you get help, like you could ask questions on Stack Overflow or ask in any sort of like coding help Discord. But if you know all the steps required to get that thing done, you're ready for a job, because that's what you're going to be doing on the job. You're going to be handed a task and you need to be able to do that task. So if you can do that, I think you're ready for a job. I would say there are other aspects of it as well, like applying to a job in general is a big process, and there's a lot of things you need to prepare for. Like you need to prepare for the interview. You need to make sure that your portfolio site is good and ready to go. There's all the job search things you need to do. So do that, because you need to do that before you're ready to apply. But just in general, like as a developer, knowing if you're ready is, can you be given a task or think up a task and do it? That's it. Definitely got into the field too soon. I'm sure you're doing fine. Cool. Kali has a question. What advice do you have for a solo dev at their first job? Who can you ask when you're stuck? Feels like I'm wasting time working through errors and things. I would say try to find some online communities. So we have a Discord server. I'm not as active in the Discord server as I used to be, but there are a lot of people that will help answer questions. I would say get good. Just get good. That's it. No, get good at asking questions on Stack Overflow. And really get good at asking questions in general, because the better questions you ask, the faster and more easily you will get help from other people. Because if you just say, this is broke, fix it, most people aren't going to want to invest the time to try and help first even understand what problem you're trying to solve. So get good at asking questions. And really the only way to get good at that is by practicing. So find some online communities. Yeah, join the Discord. Try asking on Stack Overflow. There are a lot of other dev community Discords and Slacks that you can join. And also like technology specific. So depending on what you're working in, like, is it in Vue or is it in React? Is it some backend framework? A lot of times there is a help forum or a specific Slack or Discord server where all the experts and people that have experience with that hang out, and they'd be more than happy to help you. So yeah, it's tricky as a solo dev because you don't have anybody to bounce stuff off of, but I would say you could definitely find an online community to help with that. Cool. I know it's not the best answer, and it is going to require some work, but find a community. That's my answer. Yeah. How many times are we allowed to cry while working on that problem? I mean, as many as you want. Yeah. I guess you could have if I cry 3 times, then I'll ask for help, something like that. Yeah, learning how to ask questions is the most important part. Yeah, and let me show you on our Discord. Because we have quite a few, we specifically have a how to ask for help thing that you can look at. So if you go in the Coding Garden Discord and then you go into the README for the help section, there's a huge write-up. So first of all, search the web, see if, or in this case, search the Discord, see if your question has been answered before. Then we have specific places to ask question. And then here's a really good piece of advice that happens way too often, but don't go to a place and just say, anybody here know Java? Are there any React experts here? Because you're more likely to get help if you say so, if you explain the problem that you're having. Because if you explain the problem that you're having, it shows that you put in the work. Like, you put in the work to, first of all, you already tried to solve this yourself, but you can't, and you're kind of breaking it down for them. No one knows Java. So you've already put in the work to describe your problem and specifically describe how you got there and why you're getting these kinds of errors. And yeah, a good website is this Don't Ask to Ask, which kind of basically explains that. Don't say, can I ask a question? Or are there anyone here that would be able to ask my question? Just ask your question and ask a good question. Also, this is a good point of advice. Imagine that you're trying to answer so if you're trying to answer the question from somebody, what would they need to know? What would you need to know in order to answer that question? Yeah, and this is another site that breaks that down, the XY problem. The XY problem is asking about your attempted solution rather than your actual problem. Yeah, because that's another thing is you may have already already be down this path of trying to solve the problem, but now you're running into a issue with how you're trying to solve the problem. But there may be an issue with you're solving the wrong problem, or you shouldn't have done that to begin with. So you should be clear in ultimately what you're trying to do. I don't know. I'm not making sense anymore. I have to go eat some food. Tell me, Stony. What do you want to tell me? A top tier passive aggressive website. Well, the thing is, like, you run into this so much on Discord, on Stack Overflow, even on Twitch, and it's not helpful. When people ask questions like this, like if they have a specific question, we need to see what is the question that they have, and then anybody that is an expert will chime in if they can help. Yeah. Oh, and then another aspect of it is have a code example for someone, right? So like, if it's a specific problem with React or Vue, that code should be on GitHub somewhere so that it's really easy. It's really easy for whoever's helping you to see the actual source code. And there's a lot of places where you can host the code so that they can see it, like taking a screen cap of your your code is not a good thing, because then it's harder for someone else to try and debug it. I don't know. Check out this channel. There's lots more resources in there too. Yeah, and if you can't share the whole code because it's like proprietary or something like that, share like a specific piece that you're having an issue with. Yeah. Cool. Hopefully that helped. Let's keep going. If you have asked a question and you're here, type !! here in the chat. Take a portrait video of your code on your monitor. Exactly. That was actually a good. I saw this question though. What percent of viewers are mostly new to programming? Let's do a poll. So there's about 200 people watching, and let's see, of all the people that are here and of all the people that answer the poll, what is your experience? Did I spell experience right? Experience? Programming? None. 1 to 6 months. 1 to 2 years. 2 years or more. Define new to programming. Yeah, I mean, I think if you started within the past 6 months, you're I did it right. Experience. If you started coding within the last 6 months, I would say you're new to programming, new to coding. Being a student counts too. Yeah. I would say when did you start learning to code? That can be your starting point of how long you've been coding. That's a big jump, but it's okay. 9 months, not. Oh, you're totally right. You're totally right. 6 months to 1 year. 1 to 5 years. 5 years or more. How about that? 1 year and still really bad. I've been coding for 16, 17 years, and I'm still really bad. All right, vote now. Did I do that right? 1 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, 1 to 5 years, 5 years or more. Cool. And for those of you that are just lurking, now's the time to perk up, switch over to this tab. Take the poll. We want to know what is our audience here. Yeah, I mean, there might be people here with no experience, and that's totally fine. University, yeah, I would say university. Count your university years. Count when you started to learn to code. Not how long have you had a job or anything like that. When did you start learning to code? You should be able to click this up at the top of the chat and then click your vote. Or you can do /vote and then 1 through 5. 1984. That's cool. I mean, I guess there's how many people have taken the poll? 60, like 70 people, but 40% have been coding for 5 years or more. That's crazy. Nice. And then Fretz has been coding for 5 months. Wrote my first line of code in 2000. Nice. Pond Garden. I wrote a BBS program in BASIC on the Commodore 64 before you were born. Nice. Okay, let's answer this question, or try to answer this question from Kali. Do people use test-driven development in the real world? Seems like no one talks about it on YouTube and Twitch. They do. I'll point you to somebody that talks about it on Twitch. I'm blanking on his name, and now I'm really embarrassed. Who's the Java guy on Twitch that writes a lot of tests? There he is, Jitter Ted. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Jitter Ted. Check him out. He writes TDD, Java, and I think Angular like religiously. So there are some. I would say. So I don't do test driven development at work. I do write tests every now and then, not as much as I should, but I do write every now and then. I would say there is. It's one of those things where, like, when you go to a coding conference and you see all of the speakers talking about it, and probably like the conference talks you see on YouTube or anyone else that like has a platform, like, except for me, I'm not very TDD driven. They will make it seem like TDD is everywhere, and TDD is usually heavily tied to, or really only talked about when we're talking about agile. And so a lot of companies that are doing agile want to be doing TDD because they know they should be, but I haven't seen a lot of it. I really haven't. In my experience, and in a lot of the people that I've talked to, there aren't nearly enough tests in the world, and there really aren't that many people. Like, test companies that actually do test-driven development are the exception to the rule. At least in my experience. That's what I've seen. I don't know anybody in the chat. I mean, we are seeing that, let's see, 41% of people have 5 years or more of experience. 45% have 1 to 5 years of experience. What is your thoughts or take on it? Like, do you see a lot of companies using TDD? Do you use TDD? I just know, like, when I started out, I went to like an Agile conference, and they talked a lot about TDD, and I went to like a VS Code Live conference, and they talked a lot about TDD, but I was just never doing TDD at work, and none of the companies I've worked at have used TDD. So I would say it's way less common in the real world. In general, it's a good idea, I think. Yeah, like red, green refactor, where you don't write a single line of code until you have a failing test for it. Yeah, Mac is a 15-year dev. They're saying TDD is the exception. Yeah, and like on paper, it's a really good idea, but in practice, it's harder when you're dealing with budget, time constraints, picky clients, that kind of thing. Bosch is saying TDD is too tedious for the real world. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, I have seen places with tests, but not test-driven, which are two different things, right? You can have a test suite for a code base, which you write like after the fact, and you're testing like some of the main paths through the app, versus writing a failing test first and then writing code to make it a passing test, which is what TDD is. TDDious. I don't know how to insert multiple tables in SQL. You just do it. I mean, it might require multiple SQL statements if you're inserting into multiple tables. Yeah, it would. It would require multiple. You can't just do it in one go. Could you have a combined SQL statement that inserts into multiple tables? I don't think I've ever done that. Yeah. Yeah, and Grape is saying, I've never used TDD in the real world because projects move too fast. Now, TDD proponents would argue that if you do TDD from the beginning, then you'll be able to iterate on your app much faster in the long run. Like, it's slow to start, but in the long run, you'll see gains because you have this test infrastructure that prevents you from introducing regressions into your app and bugs. Yeah. DC Wolf, what's up? Who says, I have a 4.0 GPA and I've made the president's list at my current university where I'm studying IT. I'm torn between getting a job when I finish my associate's degree and continuing school while working with a desire to pursue a job in cybersecurity, or continuing on a full-time basis of school without a job. Also, what online schools do you suggest? It's a great question. Because I think about myself back when I was in university and even when I was in high school, like, my mentality when I was younger was I just wanted to be done and over with school as quickly as possible, whatever it took. I didn't want to spend my time there. I knew I could be doing better things. I didn't like how the education system is run. So I just did college as fast as possible. I graduated in 3 years instead of 4. That's because I did summer school. I had like extra course loads. I was just trying to get it over with. If I could go back, would I do it again? I think an associate's degree sounds enticing because at that point you still kind of have a degree, but it's not as much time, and then now you can just get out into the real world and start making money. You also have to think about the opportunity costs of going to school versus getting a job. If you have the skills to get a job without going to school, because if you spend 4 years in school, you're paying money, right? You're paying tuition, you're paying for books, you're paying for all that stuff, and you're not making money at a job. Whereas if you already have the skills, like especially you could go into cybersecurity or even like software development, if you already have those skills and you could go into that job right now, you're making money instead of spending money. So those are the things to think about. I would say if you have the skills to do it, just get an associate's degree. But also, this is not legal advice. This is not life advice. Don't come to me if that doesn't work out for you. But if you have the skills, I would say go for it. Yeah, and then BDD is behavior-driven development, which is similar to TDD, but you just slightly different. Codeflaker says, I tried TDD in a personal project and have never lost interest in a project so quickly, but it was a great experience. It's cool. It's a cool idea. Yeah. First insert in table A. But then I need the ID of that record into table B. Yeah. So you can store the result in like a variable or something like that. Or you have a subquery that is the result, which will be passed into the next query. Honestly, I don't know how to do it with SQL. I use an object relational mapper, which would let me put the result in a variable that I can then use in a second query. I currently work with a 500 plus jest test for an API endpoint. Starts with a test on what to expect, then build to meet those expect. Cool, yeah. So your Cypher is doing TDD for sure. Yeah, the first requirement for TDD is that a customer actually know what they want. Yeah. What if the school is free? Is the time spent there worth it? I mean, that's the other thing to think about because you're not spending money, but you're still not making money. So you're still technically losing out if you were at a job right now making money. So it's potentially more worth it if you know that you're going to be more valuable in the workplace at the end of that degree, even if it was free. I don't know. Pigman says, my college was all over the place. I started going to become a math teacher, ended up graduating as a structural engineer, then ended up in IT department at my work writing automation tools. Yeah, makes sense of that. What would you consider a simple project for a client? Something where I don't have to build anything. I can use like an off-the-shelf WordPress plugin. Just give it to them without much customization. In terms of custom software development, there really are no simple projects. I mean, if it's when you're dealing with a full stack app, like a database, user login, different roles for accessing different pages depending on who you're logged in as, that kind of thing, like they're not simple. Software is complex. But if it's just a landing page with no login and kind of just like an informative website, that's pretty simple. I don't know what Meng is. Is that like Fang? Opportunity cost, exactly. And thanks for the supports. Toolist with the Prime sub. Thank you. Manga? What does it stand for? Can someone tell me? Every time I'm in the VA hospital and mention that I'm studying IT, they're always, we'll hire you. Kind of the only thing to do with. Yeah. The thing is, like, there's always going to, not always, I mean, eventually the robots will take over, but in the meantime, there are going to be tech jobs. And even when the robots take over, they're going to need mechanics. They're going to need coders to maintain the robots. So we'll have a job for a long time. When would a dev graduate themselves from junior to mid to senior? I talked a little bit about this earlier, but in my mind, junior to mid is all about self-sufficiency. Like, can you be given a problem and for the most part solve it yourself without any help from some senior on your team? You're allowed to search Google, you're allowed to post on message boards, but can you figure it out? And then I think the jump from mid to senior is more just about experience. You are obviously self-sufficient, but also you have a lot of experience. So when presented with a new situation, you have your experience to look back on to inform your decisions, which is much harder to say about someone who's only been in the industry for a few years. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, like being a good coder doesn't make you a senior. Having experience and being a good coder makes you a senior. Is this the ideal solution? Is this about the multiple SQL statements? Yeah, I don't know. Do you think you can learn JavaScript only with YouTube? Or that's something you don't know? In that case, which is it? I think you can, but it requires a lot of self-reflection. So like after you watch a YouTube video, you need to go practice the concepts that you just watched, and you need to test your understanding of those concepts. Because if you just watch the videos, that is not fully learning a thing, because you need to be able to demonstrate that you can do that thing to show that you actually learned it from watching a video. Yeah, there are a lot of IT jobs in a lot of in companies that aren't even IT companies. Yeah, for sure. Paul is saying a university student lifecycle project, a 30.4 million pound scheme to build a new system for managing student records has been ditched. It's been in development for 5 years. Oh, because it's meta. I see. Yeah, see you later, S-Fox. Have a good weekend. It's Friday. Huh. What do you consider the best stack to learn as a beginner? I don't have an opinion on that. I mean, a JavaScript stack, like, because you can learn one language and then apply it in multiple places. So yeah, that. But within the JavaScript stack, I don't have any recommendations for one over the other. No, DJ Viking, who says if you're answering my question, I'm probably missing all of it because of the ads. Well, all I said was the difference between a junior and a mid is self-sufficiency, and the difference between a mid and a senior is experience. Yeah. And Grape, thanks for the sub. All right, let's answer another question. If you asked a question, type exclamation mark here. It'll bubble up in the chat. It's Not Trika says, any thoughts on pursuing dev relations as a full-time job? If talking to people and selling and marketing is something you like to do, and you have a developer skill set, do it. I'll mention James Q Quick. Is that his Twitch name? It is. He has done a lot of... Yeah, this is him. I'm having trouble remembering names today. But he's done a lot of... He does like a podcast style like interview thing, but he's in dev relations, and he interviews a lot of people in DevRel, which is their term. They call it DevRel. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out... He has a YouTube channel too. Check out his YouTube. Check out his Twitch. Okay. Bosch asks, do you know a simple project to get started with decentralization? Do you mean like like dApps, decentralized apps? Is this what you're talking about? Because if it is, I have no idea. I've never... Yeah, oh yeah, so that if you're talking about Web3, yeah, I have no idea. I've never done it. But you can start there. Click that link. Okay, what do I think about Remix V1? What is it? Build better websites. I don't know what this is. Is this like Next.js? Does anybody know? Do we have to watch a video to find out what it is? It's a full stack framework from the React Router team. Okay, so I would say it's like React.js then. I mean, sorry, Next.js. Cool. I have no opinions on it. I've never heard of it. If it's better than Next.js, then cool. I'll also say that, well, the React Router, the library itself, is not the best library. Like, it has a really weird API. They merged with Reach Router. Now, Reach Router had a really good API and like was a really nice router. They merged teams. I don't know if that means that the React Router team and the Reach Router team made Remix. I don't know. Do I ever consider never coding again? Every day of my life. No, I'm really burnt out and like jaded right now. So I definitely need a break, but I would like it does not seem in my mind, it doesn't seem like a stretch if I never coded again. I would do something else. I would develop some other skill or make sandwiches like we talked about earlier, and I'd be okay with that. But I like coding. I really do like coding, so I don't think I'll stop anytime soon. Go to Japan? I want to go to Japan. I don't know if they still have travel restrictions. So, all right. Anybody else here that asked a question? I mean, I've done woodworking, and I could be a carpenter. I mean, for a while, I was working on building out a camper van that still needs work, so I could spend some time doing that. I could find some things for sure. Yeah, if you have asked a question and you're here, type exclamation mark here in the chat. It'll bubble up. If not, I'm going to go ahead and end here. And then we'll see you next time. Oh, Cypher transitioned into web dev from carpentry. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, it is another type of creation, right? So I talked about how in building and writing code, like I can solve real world problems. I can create something that wasn't there before. You do a similar thing when you're working with carpentry, like you are constructing a thing, you're bringing it into existence, and it did not exist before, which is cool. Unicornware is asking, have I ever worked with styled components? I usually use Sass, but I've begun using styled components and have come to really like it. I haven't. So I mainly use CSS in JS, which is not styled components. It's almost like CSS modules, but you write it with JavaScript. So you write your styles like this, and then it creates an object with the generated class names that you then put into your app somehow. So specifically, there's React JSS, which has a nice little hook you can use. So define all of your styles with JavaScript, and then you can use them like this. And it generates, behind the scenes, it generates classes on the page that you can then apply to the elements. So that's what I have the most experience with. I do not have much, if any, experience with styled components. I'll say, in the React world, most React developers hate this. They do not like this. This is not very popular. I would say styled components is probably one of the most popular things. And then the other one is CSS modules, which is just which supported in Create React App out of the box now. And so the idea here is you actually just import a CSS file, and then that gives you an object with class names on it. And that those class names are generated at build time. So yeah. Yeah, and Material UI used to use CSS and JS, but now they're using something different. Yeah. But yeah, this is what we're talking about with styled components. You basically do this thing here, and then this button is now technically a component, and you can use it and So that'll just, in this case, this is just literally a styled button. It has no interactivity. You would likely write a wrapper component around this component that has all of the functionality you would want from a button. But yeah. Cool. All right. Steven says, why not save up and take a year off? Go see the world? That's probably what I'm going to do. Can I explain subarray versus subsequence? I don't know in what context. Like, are you solving an algorithmic problem? I didn't know this existed. I guess it's on like the uint8 or like a typed array, subarray. Dynamic programming. I'm not sure what you mean, Steven. So, yeah, DeColler's saying a subarray is contiguous. I'm just going to skip your question. I don't know what it means. Astrolev is asking. Oh, this is going to be the last question. And then I'm going to go. Do I think makes katas and coding game? Do I think code katas and coding game make you a better developer, or it's preferable to spend times on big projects and learn design patterns, for example? I don't think spending all of your time on, well, in my case, I use Code Wars, or there's Coding Game, which we've played on stream before, and they have more than just the Clash of Code like we play. They have like things you can practice coding with. I would say if you're good at either one of these, I mean, if you're good at one, you're probably good at both. But if you're good at those, that doesn't make you necessarily a good developer. That makes you a good algorithmic problem solver. Working in the real world, like coding for a living, and getting paid to code is not, for the most part, I mean, it might be some places, but for the most part, it's not about solving algorithmic problems. It's about building apps that are useful to end users. And that's a totally different skill set. But I will say, this knowing how to do these things isn't useless. Like, practicing solving these types of problems is going to help when you're working on larger apps where you at some point will run into a problem where you need to reverse a string. But that's just one aspect of programming. The other aspect is like building UIs and making a good user experience and that kind of thing. And then the other aspect, which you're talking about here, is design patterns, which is like code structure and writing well architected code and reusable code, which is another skill set as well. So yeah, my answer is you need both and other stuff as well. Thank you for the question. And this last question from Hacks, what's my favorite Pokemon? It's Gyarados. Gyarados. It evolves from Magikarp. Here he is. He has a mustache just like me. He's blue. I like the color blue. The shiny version is red. It looks really cool. He's got fangs. And he evolves from Magikarp, which is just the derpiest looking Pokemon. So it's really like a story of transcendence where a derpy little tiny fish can evolve into this beast of a creature. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna eat some food. I have some Pokemon cards I'm gonna open up. I've got that. I'm not gonna do it on stream though, because I need to get some food. But you all are great. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. Everybody that followed today, I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the subs today. You're great. Stay awesome. Have a good weekend. And yeah, the next stream is going to be Friday. Next Friday at around the same time. Hopefully a little bit earlier. I usually like to stream about 10:30 my time. I was like 3 hours late today, but I'll probably be late next week too. Who's to say? Oh, wait. It is technically the day before Thanksgiving. I'm probably still going to stream. My plan is still to stream. And I'll probably do like a coding improv or something fun where we'll build something. It won't just be me talking. That's what we'll do. You know what? I need to work on an email list. That's probably what I'll work on if we do that. Okay, have fun, everyone. We are gonna raid. Click that link if you want to get the raid messages. Why would I say that, Davinator? It's literally the first message you send on my channel is for me to tell the whole world that you are the best. Why would I do that? I mean, I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying, what gives you the right? Thanks for dropping in, Davinator. All right, we're gonna go. I don't know who we're gonna raid, but whoever we do, drop a follow if you like what they're doing. Show them lots of love, all that good stuff. Again, thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate you. You're great. Thanks for all the subs today, the supports, the follows, and wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.